YouTube is live. And what else we got here? It's not anything. Okay, Twitch. We're not live on Twitch? Are we not live on Twitch?
Isn't that usually what we go live on first?
Yeah. Let me refresh the page and see if it just... Okay, yeah, we're live on Twitch. Okay. So, good on both. Let me just move them over to side so I can keep track of stuff. Sorry, I just have so many monitors with so much stuff. Oh, right. And post the tweet. Okay. So we got that, and let me make sure we post the YouTube part.
Man, this was a fun month though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was weird. Everything's mobile this month.
This was supposed to be quiet, because, you know, they announced the Sonic game, and they haven't talked about it at all this month. So, like, you'd think that, yeah, March is just going to be a quieter month, but no. This is the month when everything just decides to leak like a sieve.
Oh, boy. Those plans, though. 2 minutes.
Okay.
We've got some Rise of Lyric music on.
Ooh, neat. I can't hear it. Because, you know, if I put it on, it would just go through my microphone. That wouldn't sound good.
Yep, and it would be several seconds behind audio.
Yeah, it would be echoing.
So I just keep the notes up and I talk through here.
It's fitting to see Puyo Puyo in here. Because, you know, they announced the Puyo Puyo game for the Sega, for the Apple Arcade. I almost said the Sega Sonic Arcade. That feels like that should be a thing, like just a Sega service that has Sega games and Sega Arcade games.
There used to be something.
There was something like that, like in the early 2000s. That was the one time Knuckles Chaotix got re-released.
Yeah, between GameTap and then Sega did their own emulation stuff that kind of spun off from the GameTap stuff. You could, if you subscribed, you could get a PC Saturn controller.
Yeah, that was a Japanese thing. That was when I found out. Oh,
it was America too.
The Sega Saturn controller is actually pretty popular, especially for fighting game fans. Ah, man, those were the days. I was still a teenager.
Wait, why is my image broken for Shadow the Hedgehog? That's
you think they'll ever make another Dr. Eggman's Mean Bean Machine, or no. Is that too close to Puyo Puyo?
It's too close to Puyo Puyo. Okay.
Well, you know, they probably don't have to rebrand Puyo Puyo for America anymore.
We are all situated. I see both chats in there. I've got the stuff up. We're good there. And what else? Oh, where's my text stuff? There we go. I can run through that. And oh, right. One more thing I need.
You need to send a tweet.
No, I already sent the tweet. The tweet was sent out. People know we're live.
Okay. I guess this thing just didn't. The page took a second to upload.
Let me just bring up an initial.
I'm an angry bird. Who's this blue hedgehog next to me? I'm angry at him. Angry. You know, the only Angry Birds, one of the only Angry Birds things I ever saw, I did play the original on my Android back in like 2009, 10 or something, was I also saw the second movie. which
I'm assuming not the
like.
first then?
I didn't see the first one because that didn't get very good reviews, and so like I just skipped it. And then the second one actually got surprisingly good reviews, and I saw some clips from it, and they seemed funny. So I went and I saw it, and I liked it. I think Shigs hates it though, if I remember correctly.
I didn't really care for the first one. The second one's pretty good. It's decent.
Oh, okay, so we agreed on that. Huh, someone else must have hated it.
What say we do a podcast so that
No,
Shigs can eat a foods.
I want to. Wait,
Well,
you haven't eaten
I
yet?
ate half. I ate half my dinner, and then I'm saving the other half for later.
Okay, let's do a D&D session.
And I already had a bucket of popcorn, so I'm pretty good for a while.
All your characters died. Game over.
Cripes.
TP
There.
TPK. Okay, let's go ahead and start. I need to back up from the mic a little bit. Hey, in chat, if you have opinions about our audio levels, please let us know. If you think that we might be clipping, or if you think that we're unusually balanced, yeah, just give us a shout out, and I'll try to adjust as best
balanced?
I can.
You can be too balanced?
I am absurdly balanced. You know me. I am the most balanced person that you've ever met.
Hello, Sunflower the Gamer.
So let's go ahead and get started in 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Hello and welcome to a fantastic episode of Sonic Talk, your monthly Sonic news podcast brought to you by SonicStadium.org. I'm your host GX. This month. I almost said this week. This month. I'm the host. And my co-host for this episode is Nuckles87. How you doing?
Hello, Heidi Ho.
And our co-host is Jason Shigs. How you doing, Shigs?
I'm an old man and I play old games.
Sure.
Also, I busted my hip for this week. I worked on Saturday and I twisted wrong while lifting some heavy beverage cart thing, and now my hip's been busted for the week.
Well, is that why you have to play classic games now?
Yeah.
Modern games are too intensive.
At least your hip isn't broken.
Oh, that's what Oregon's like over here in the Northwest. Everybody's still into old tech. You can even find places where you can still buy used VHS tapes or even rent them.
Oh, nice.
They just love their old tech out here.
No Silicon Valley, it's Vacuum Tube Valley.
Well, just like 2 miles from me is I think one of the main places for Intel computers. They're here.
So
they have a little headquarters in Beaverton, I think.
I've been playing a new old game, we'll call it. Hey, I've been playing some poker. Except I haven't been playing poker.
Ooh,
I've been playing a game that's better than poker.
I love poker at the inventory.
Okay, here's a pitch. What if poker was good?
That's already a thing.
I've been playing.
It's called poker at the inventory.
I've been playing we'll say the internet's one of the internet's latest. The internet has many crazes. The one that I've been playing is Balatro. And Balatro is, I guess you would call it a single-player poker game. It is a deck-building roguelike, which, I think I talked about deck-building roguelikes, but basically, hey, it's a roguelike, except the way you progress is by building a sort of deck of cards and play hands through it. In this case, you are building out poker hands, which means you're just starting with a standard 50-card deck of cards, everything from ace to king, and effectively, the way it works is you are playing traditional poker hands in the traditional poker structure. In other words, like, hey, 2-pair is better than a pair, full house is better than 2-pair, and then just stepping up from there. But what you're actually doing is you're not playing against anyone. This is an entirely solo game. But every hand that you put together scores you a certain amount of points and a certain amount of multiplier. So, and I'm just throwing these numbers out because I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say you do a pair, and a pair would be worth like 20 points on its own. Then you would add in the points from the cards that you have. So let's say you make a pair of 8s. It'd be 20 points plus 8 plus 8. And then from there, you have a multiplier innate to the hand that you played. So a pair would be times 2. So it would take the score that you got, then combine it with the multiplier, giving you a score. And in each round, you have a certain score that you have to achieve within a certain number of hands. And you can get some discards so that you can like discard up to 5 cards any number of times to try to form the best hand that you're able to. But the secret spice in it is these bizarre enhancements that you can get by way of the Joker cards. You start off with like a certain amount of money, and then you go into the shop and you can buy Jokers. And Jokers have bizarre and wild effects. Things like, things that could be as simple as like, okay, well, if you play 10s or 4s, then you get certain bonus points. Or, hey, in the more powerful end, it could be like, okay, clubs and spades are now just considered the same suit, and so are hearts and diamonds, which, like, hey, if you're going big on flushes in a run, then that's really freaking important. One of the more powerful ones that I've encountered that actually led me to my first win effectively let you run a straight with numerical gaps of about 1. So like you could go ace to 3 to 5 to 6 to 7, and that would be considered a valid straight. But the difficulty in it just comes from the point totals that you need to get go up pretty far. So you really have to build out a strong collection of these Jokers and upgrades and special cards that just progressively increase your score. You only have to get like maybe 500 points to pass the first one, but there are later rounds where it's like, okay, you have the same number of hands, but you need to get like 5 million just through a cascading effect of different powers. And then this is made a little bit more complex by every third hand is considered, or every third round is considered like a boss fight, which not only do you have to make the targeted value, but you also have to have a weird condition on it that is usually negative or difficult, like, okay, whatever hand you play first, that's the only type of hand you could play. Or, hey, all of your heart cards have been debuffed, so now they don't get any additional points by playing them. You can still play them to make hands, but you don't get any additional points for it. Then you stack on top of things like the way that you can upgrade cards through... Yes, you can upgrade your poker hand cards through, like, tarot cards, or you can upgrade the types of hands you can play through planets, so that suddenly your pair goes up a level. So now it's worth more points when you play it, and worth a higher multiplier. There was a celestial card that I got at one point that is basically, okay, when you play this card, you only get to play it once, but it takes one random card in your hand and changes every other card into that card. It's bizarre and crazy and has weird effects like that. You'll probably wind up with, by the end of a game, you probably won't have a standard 50 card deck anymore because you're going to be buying more cards, you're going to be swapping cards in and out, you're going to be transforming cards into other cards, and you could very reasonably wind up with a deck of like 20 hearts, 7 clubs, etc., so that you're just manipulating this whole system in order to continue to make the higher and higher value hands that you need to get. It's bizarre, it's crazy, it's weird. It's kind of like, hey, if you're not the big fan of deck, this has kind of been the deck builder that has hit people who aren't necessarily the fans of the deck builder roguelike.
Ah.
And it makes sense that it would be because you're not treating it in the same way that you would like a Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire sort of operates a bit more like a trading card game, where you have specific effects on the cards you play, and then you try to chain those cards into things. In this case, you're kind of building out the engine, or rather, the engine's kind of separate, and then, generally speaking, if you have any sense of how poker operates and like how to make a poker hand and just sort of how to work within the probabilities of getting the card you think you need, then it's pretty straightforward. It's not intimidating going into it because a lot of people are going to have that baseline knowledge of what poker is, or at least what the poker hands are. And even if you don't, like, there's very easy reference to just bring up, okay, what is a full house again? Oh, it's this type of card set. So just bring it up in a menu, put it back down, and then if you think you have one, you're golden.
So, like, does this utilize like multiple kinds of poker rules, or what?
It's just a singular set of rules. All you do is
All
you make
right.
the poker hands. Now, there are a
I
couple.
think it doesn't like specify Texas Hold'em or the other one I can't recall.
Nope, it gives you it like anytime. There are no hidden rules or anything. All it is you have a set of hands that you can create that are, the standard poker hands. Each one has a point total, each one has a multiplier. So if you really want to get like calculator on it and trying to figure out, well, I could do this one or I could do this one, you can. But even if you don't want to, like, it still just has that play by the cuff because there's only so many kinds of hands that you can make, and there's only so much that you can sort of calculate probability on. So if you don't want to play like, hey, I have to calculate this out, you can play pretty, off the cuff and just try to feel things out and still have a fun time. And quite honestly, like, a lot of the fun in it is just, hey, number go up. It has a lot of great number go up.
So I assume this doesn't have Brock Sampson or Claptrap or Salmon Max.
It doesn't.
But regardless,
it doesn't have.
This does sound like.
Yeah.
Go on.
It doesn't have any narrative. Like there's no story or anything. There is literally no narrative to it. It's just you go in and play. But that isn't to say that it isn't without like a great identity to it. A lot of that comes from the Joker cards themselves, which are which are delightfully weird. One of the Joker cards is just a credit card, and its power is it allows you to go into debt. It allows you to have negative dollars in order to buy more. Some of them are like, okay, this is just a business card for someone with the name Joker, and it has some special ability on it. One of them's like a driver's license. It's funny and bizarre and irreverent and weird, and it also just has the humor of like, hey, you're opening in the store, you are buying like a trading card pack like you would get from Magic the Gathering, except it's full of standard poker cards. So it's like, oh, I opened this up. Oh, I got a rare holographic 3 of hearts. Cool. That's going to go in my deck. It's bizarre and fun. It has a lot. It has personality despite not really having narrative, and it's just a great little engine builder.
Huh.
So I recommend it. It's only $15. Like there's not a lot to it. There's not like it's not expansive in the way that like as you go through a game of Rogue Legacy, like you see more and more things, or like Spelunky, but it still has a lot of content and a lot of different jokers and cards to see. It tracks everything that you've collected. You can unlock more things by accomplishing these subtasks throughout the game, like, hey, you've discarded this many cards. If you do that, then there will be a new joker unlock that you might encounter in the game. So yeah, it's very neat. It became a problem for a lot of people that are in my sphere, which is to say they could not stop playing it, or it was very much their one more round type of game. Because like as a roguelike, it is one of those, it is a round based, what do you call it? Run based game, I think is the phrase that's going around now. But yeah, it's solid. It was great fun. But the only other things that I've been playing are like hey, Super Mario World. You guys don't need me to talk about Super Mario World. It's Super Mario World. If you haven't played Super Mario World, what are you doing? Just play Super Mario World. So,
the game's okay.
But you've been playing games older than that, Shigs. What have you been up to?
Oh, okay, well, to pay homage to James Stephanie Sterling, it's time for Jason's Retro Corner. Anyway, the first one is actually a brand new game for the Atari 7800, and it plays on the 2600 Plus as well. And that's
Ooh,
from the immortal John Hancock, who's also a retro gamer who has a popular
really?
YouTube channel.
Know that guy had a
It's
game.
Yeah, he has actually several homebrew games that he puts out for the Atari 2600, 7800. The latest one he put out first on called Block of Sock'em. He originally put that out on the Genesis and Super Nintendo, and then he put it out on the 7800 just like 2 weeks ago. I was one of the first people to buy it because he was at the it's called the SideQuest Gaming Expo that was over in Portland like 2 weeks ago, and he was there selling his copies. It's programmed by another person, Daryl Gunther, but they use his likeness, and I think he pays to put him out, and it's published by Atari Age. So basically, that game is like similar to Magical Drop, if you're familiar with that game. That's on the Neo Geo, and that you play as John Hancock himself. He's he's got these different little colored blocks that are up on the ceiling, and he starts off with one with a star, and you have to throw it up to hit blocks of a similar color, and when you hit the blocks of a similar color, it changes to the color that's behind that block at the top.
All
So
these
say if you
fan
got
games with their self-insert characters.
yeah, this one's definitely he inserts himself in every game he does. So like say if you have a red block and you throw it up and you hit a line of 6 red blocks and there's a green block behind that, it'll turn to a green block, and then you have to go and hit all the green blocks. And there's several areas where there's arrows going left or right horizontally, so you're trying to hit all those. Now, unlike Magical Drop, you only have a limited amount of moves to clear the board. Although you can clear it up to just having 4 left, and then he can leave. He'll leave the stage, but as he's leaving, you can still throw up a block real quick to try to hit him, and to try to completely clear out the board. And that's where the strategy comes in, because in later levels, you have to do it a particular way, or else you'll never be able to clear it. So there's quite a bit of strategy involved. And as I got this from that SideQuest Gaming Expo, it happened to bought quite a few Atari, old Atari games at the time. And I was testing them out. And this one, when I tested it out, I ended up playing for like an hour and a half, because I was pretty addicted to it. It's actually a very solid little puzzle game similar to Magical Drop. Although also what's interesting is if you play it on 7800, the soundtrack is completely different and it's not really that great or anything. But this is one of the first games, even though it's homebrew, that's 2600 plus enhanced. That's the new Atari system where they made it with HDMI involved and they've done firmware updates and stuff. So
Okay,
plays, your
but
Atari 2600 games and 7800 games in HD. But anyway, when you play it on the 2600 plus, your soundtrack is enhanced, and it actually sounds more like a Genesis Super Nintendo game than a regular Atari game. My only complaint is that it is limited in the amount of levels there are. It stops at like 29, so after the first hour, an hour and a half, you're pretty much done unless you're going for high scores. Okay, you were saying something?
I was gonna say, okay, but what if you put it in a Super Game Boy?
I'll be
I
honest.
don't
When I
think
first
that'd work.
saw it on the list, I thought you were going to be talking about Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
No,
I
it's called Rock
misread.
and Sock. But also, the other thing I bought recently, actually just yesterday, because I've been uh, trying to figure out what to trade up for that one, is a game 42 system, 42 years in the buying, because I was begging my mom for it for when I was 11 years old, and that's the ColecoVision. So I
Ooh.
was never a big Intellivision fan, but I loved Atari, and I've always wanted a ColecoVision because back in the day, the arcade games for ColecoVision were almost 1-to-1. Not quite, but
I love my
it's pretty darn
ColecoVision.
close.
I hope you have fun with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the one thing difference between ColecoVision and Atari is that ColecoVision is like 90% arcade ports, and they're very close in a lot of ways to that arcade game. Not as good, not as close as like NES games at that time would be towards that. Like for instance, with the Donkey Kong, which was the pack-in game back in that day. Donkey Kong himself is over on the right-hand side instead of the left, and like the NES, it's missing the Pie Factory level. But other than that, you got pretty much the same sound effects, the same graphics. Frogger on it. I've been playing Frogger, and the sound chip on that, it sounds exactly like Frogger did in the arcade. Like I can't tell the difference on that. And the graphics are pretty good on that one too. So other games I've been playing like Zaxxon, Smurf Rescuing Gargamel's Castle, which is a fun little one, but it's a little too easy if you play it on the one, which is the easy. You have to play it on at least two, so because that's when they bring out the little vultures and the bats you have to duck down and avoid.
One thing I love about the ColecoVision is that it kind of feels like a midpoint between the 2600 and the NES, and so it's got like kind of these great colors, these great like solid colors. Has this really unique look. It's not up quite up there with the NES, but
Yeah, it uses
it's
what's called an
still pretty fun.
MSX. Yeah, uses an MSX engine, which several, I guess, arcade units did at the time. So, like, it'll have a multicolored background, and then you can either have your enemies be like 3 or 4 colors that are moving, or you can have your character be one solid color,
But I
or
guess
vice versa. Like if you're playing Donkey Kong, the barrels are just orange, and then Mario's got 3 colors. One of the ones I got, Popeye. Bluto's fully colored, and everybody else looks pretty good, but Popeye's just like one solid white blob.
yeah,
Doesn't look quite right.
I guess
But
love
yeah, the
how
thing
those how
about
the games look.
MSX, yeah, the otherwise, OSRs, most of the games look pretty solid. They look very close to their arcade counterpart, and they definitely sound a lot like their arcade counterpart. That's one thing about the ColecoVision. It's got a good sound chip for its time. What's interesting with the MSX is it's also the same game engine that was in the SG-1000,
Yeah.
Sega's pre-Master System. In fact, somebody on online, they have a homebrew flash SG-1000 flash cart for the ColecoVision that you could just plug in and play MSX games on ColecoVision. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I
Haven't
was
heard
ahead
of
of its
that.
time in those kind of things. I haven't bought the Atari expansion yet. I'm kind of thinking about it because I have my 7800 still in the background, and I don't use it as much since the Atari 2600 Plus did the update where I can play the 7800 homebrews. But it won't play any of my 2600 homebrews on the 2600 Plus, but it'll play on the 7800, of course. But I'm wondering if that Atari expansion on Coleco will play the 2600 homebrews, because then I might be able to sell off my 7800. Because the one problem with the 7800, if you're playing 2600 games on it, is Activision games. Uh, they have that has a small mouth for some reason. Activision games are a little wider, so you have to really jam those cartridges in tight. But
Yeah.
also, the expansion does not use any external power, unlike a 32X or something. When you plug it in, it's like plugging in a cartridge into the front of the thing, and then it's ready to
Yeah.
go.
Well, the ColecoVision
Which I'm
itself
not
draws a lot of
surprised, because
power.
if you've seen a the power brick on a ColecoVision, it is almost the size of a regular brick. It is
Yeah, it's
insanely
massive.
huge. Somebody just put out a USB-C adapter for the power brick, which is kind of for the ColecoVision. It's kind of interesting. For $50, you can get that and then get rid of that giant brick. But
Huh.
yeah, I'm having a real fun time with it. It's like I'm just buying my own personal arcade collection, which is what I really like about that particular system.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Well, I'm glad you
that's all
got
I
one.
got for now. Yeah, I might get into the homebrew scene later on. I want to check out, like, when the Porch and Retro Gaming Expo comes back in October. I know there's like a super expansion thing you can get for Coleco where they can play more detailed games, which has a huge homebrew scene for the
Hmm.
super expansion.
So,
Uh,
Knuckles,
that's all it.
I want you to
Yes.
tell me a story about four characters and a little company called Dimps, who were former SNK developers turned their own studio and then went on to make a kind of mediocre Death by Daylight skinned with Dragon Ball.
Okay, well, you see, back in the day, Dimps was made up of XS and K developers that left the company after this other company bought them out and kind of started turning them to crap and stuff. And but before that happened, they made a Sonic game for the Neo Geo Pocket called Sonic Pocket Adventure, which is something I've been playing recently and is quite fun. It's kind of like this fun little remix of Sonic 2 and 3 with Sonic 2 level themes, Sonic 3 music, and brand new level design and bosses. But I know that's not what you wanted me to talk about. I'm just kind of playing into your funny little joke intro, because what I've mostly been playing recently has been Amy for Sonic Advance, and so I've been trying to beat Sonic Advance 1 recently. Last month, I spent a lot of time save scumming my way to getting all of the Chaos Emeralds as Sonic, which was a mistake because those Chaos Emeralds are really difficult to get to. The controls are bad, and Sonic, and really, like, Tails is what you want to use to get to these things. But regardless, I wanted to experience that through Sonic, so I did. So I beat the game as Sonic, then I beat the game as Tails, and then I realized, hey, you know what? Before I do Knuckles, I really should get the bad one out of the way, which is Amy. Because, okay, so like 2001, it's 2001. Amy's never been playable in 2D game before. All Dimps really has to go on is Sonic Adventure, where she couldn't run very fast, couldn't spin dash, she couldn't jump spin, she couldn't homing attack, but she could hit things with a hammer, and that is more or less what they built her Sonic Advance gameplay around. And man, like, I'm all for them making all of the characters playable all the time, but they really need to just keep keep up with the idea of just using Sonic as the baseline for everything. I'm so glad that's what we got with Amy these days, because this Amy is just kind of annoying to play. Like, Sonic Advance is a game where you want to be able to like roll when you're going, because otherwise you're going to hit enemies. You want to be able to like be able to hit enemies in midair because in a ball form. But Amy, she can't do any of that in this game because she can kind of do a Mario jump. You know, she jumps like a regular person, and she can hit things with the hammer. She does not have Sonic speed or a proper spin dash, so it can be really difficult to like get up slopes and stuff. And unlike most platforming characters, if you jump onto an enemy, you will get hurt because the only damage box she has is her hammer, which is not as versatile as I really wish it was. So I've kind of just been kind of crawling my way through this game as Amy, just trying to get to the end.
So,
And
actually,
yeah,
I wouldn't say that I would want this in other games, but specifically in regard to Sonic Advance 1, I do kind of like playing as Amy. I think
huh,
there's definitely a novelty aspect of it where you have to think in ways that are distinctly not of a Sonic game, but then, Sonic Advance 1 does not always, structure itself like a Sonic game. Like playing as that format of Amy in Sonic Advance 2 or Sonic Advance 3 would be borderline unplayable, but for the type of game that Sonic Advance 1 is, I think it's pretty doable. You just have to know
Yeah.
the timing for the
it's
double jump.
doable, but it's not fun.
I mm, I had
Like,
fun
I
with
just
it.
want to get up a slope, and I can't get up the slope without backtracking and getting some momentum
Oh,
and
you mean
running
like a
up it.
Sonic game?
No, in a Sonic game, I can just spin dash up the darn thing.
Well, wouldn't
But
wouldn't
Amy, she can't spin dash. She can just do this little like
yeah,
jump thing.
you're not like continuously leaping? Like that seems like the right path to me.
I haven't. No, I'm not. Am I supposed to be?
Yeah, just keep holding down and keep leaping up the incline.
Oh no, I tried that. It doesn't work.
Really? Huh? Okay, I
Really,
remember otherwise,
I
but
pressed it a bunch of times. I can't get her up it, and so I give up. I run back, and then I just run forward, and I get up the little slope. And it's like I don't know if it were like a big slope, I would understand. But I don't know. I like I but like I wish that if it could just get up the little slopes, I would probably be a little happier with it. But I don't know. Like it just kind of feels like I'm moving through a Sonic game without my whole tool set. And I'm just not a huge fan of that. And I've just reached Angel Island, so I think that's past the halfway point or something. And so, like, once I finally get to the end, I'm dreading the last couple stages.
I think
Um,
I think the interesting element of it is that the way that she controls here has more or less dictated a generation of how she plays in fan games.
yeah, I don't like those hacks either.
But yeah, it's she's a weird one. She is kind of hard mode for that game. You do have to
She
kind of
is.
reprogram how you think about how you're playing in that game. Although the actual hard mode is trying to do anything with the special stages. That's the
Although
actual hard mode.
this is not something I would be doing if not for the fact that it's the only way for me to unlock the final level, which I didn't realize that until after I got all of the Chaos Emeralds. Then I didn't have the new level. I looked it up on the internet. I'm like, oh crap, right. This is early 2000 Sonic Team. They wanted you to play everything before they gave you that last level.
I mean, Dimps is also not especially kind in some of their design choices.
Yeah, I complained a lot about their Chaos Emerald placement last month.
Just getting to the special stages is a nightmare in all of those games, and then
It's frustrating because like go on.
No, and then once you get into the special stage, it's like, well, this is not ideal. This is not an ideal way to play. Like the Sonic 2 special
No.
stages are more learnable than these.
Yeah, like I remember when I first encountered them way back in the day when I was a little teenager. Um, and like I got into it. I didn't know what to do. Didn't get enough rings. Boom, got kicked out, and that was that. Oh boy, that annoyed me. But man, what was I saying? Oh,
I don't know, what were you saying?
but Sonic, but oh man, come on.
You're talking about Amy, talking about getting the emeralds.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Dimps. But like, what really sucks about the Sonic Advance One's issues that if the Chaos Emeralds were easier to get, I would think that Sonic Advance One would be a pretty great Sonic game. If I'm being honest, like it does get kind of dimpsy in the level design near the end, but honestly, I think that by and large, it's pretty doable until the last couple of stages. Like basically, it's the one with the rockets where you have to get through each stage with the rocket before the time runs out, where the level design gets a little too butt hard. But like beyond that, like I think Sonic Advance probably has some of the better classic Sonic level design out there. Like
So,
I can definitely see why people call that Sonic Advance 4.
so then why do we on the note of getting to use the phrase butt hard, how about we
Nah.
shift over into we'll say news but also games, question mark?
Yes, because this is most of what I played this month. Not entirely against my will, I might add. Okay, so news item. We had a big Angry Bird Sonic crossover.
A
Sega and
massive
Rovio,
one, an absurd one.
Sega Rovio like officially
Yeah.
publicly tying the knots and saying, yes, we own Rovio now. Behold, we can stick our things in their things and their things in our things,
Which,
as is customary with marriage.
which isn't to say that I don't think any of these are especially like intense crossovers. Like I don't think that any of them seem like, you know, more than normal amount of collaboration event
They were definitely
crossover.
something put together in a few months. Though I
Yeah.
will say that okay, so I played Angry Bird. So for this crossover, I played all 5 games that they did the crossover with: Angry Birds Dream Blast, Angry Birds and Friends, Angry Birds 2. Whoops, sorry, I had to drop my mic. Angry Birds 2, Sonic Forces, and a dash of Sonic Dash. I didn't actually unlock anything in that, but I played a little bit of it, so like, like I at least can talk about it briefly. And so, first thing I do want to say is that I had fun with all of these games, like just at a base level. So
Yeah.
Sonic Dream Blast was the first one I played, and that was basically like a matching puzzle game where you had like basically a whole bunch of bubbles come down into this this system, this I don't know,
So
this body of
are we
this.
talking like Candy Crush, or are we talking like
I
Bubble
I've never
Bobble?
played
Or
Candy Crush, so I don't know.
it's I think
Um,
you're probably describing Candy Crush then. Like I can visualize what you're describing, and
Oh,
I've got bad PTSD from playing that freaking which one? I actually played Candy Crush on a stream at some point, and I
no,
hated
I
it.
don't think it's like Candy Crush. Face down for a minute. You talking about Angry Birds Dreamcast, Dream Blast?
yeah, Dream Blast.
That one feels more like Have you ever played the Disney Tsum Tsum in the arcade? The one with the
Oh, okay,
little
yeah,
things. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a
That
bubble pop thing. In this case, the when you pop a certain number of bubbles, the it collects together to make red bird, or if you have a lot of them, it makes the yellow bird, and then they can burst
oh,
out in
it's
different
one
Yeah,
of
directions
yeah,
and
yeah,
burst more of the
those.
thing like that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot
So
more
like
like that.
basically, it's like a puzzle game with physics. So,
Okay.
like, you have to get together. You have to like make it so that you can match a whole bunch with the same color together. And if you get the same color together the first time, it creates red. If you do it, and if you tap him, it creates a horizontal explosion. But if you do another match next to red, you get Chuck, and that gets you like a four-way explosion. And then I think there's
Okay.
also the bomb bird. I can't remember his name. I think he just blows up a whole bunch of stuff.
Basically, it
Does
plays
any of their
nothing like
names
Angry
matter?
Birds.
I
Does
mean, I can remember Chuck in red, so I guess Chuck is the yellow one. Um, and so in order to even access the event, I had to play through like 30 levels of Dream Blaze, and it was fun. Like it wasn't amazing, but it was fun. And like over time, they introduced new gimmicks, like they introduce locks that you have to gradually destroy by matching things and hitting bergs, and like each
Pardon me, I'll
lock
be
has a
right back.
number on you have, and that number dictates, I think, how many things you have to destroy with the various bergs. And there's also man, if I remember, I'm trying to remember like an ice, there's like an ice thing
yeah.
like that various gimmicks. But so you get through 30 levels of that, and it's, by the way, very nice visuals. I will say it's a nice looking mobile game. It's not like Angry Birds and Friends, which we'll get to in a second.
I put up a trailer. To me, it just looks like another one of those. Like, yeah,
Yeah, but
I
the
have
one thing I need
seen.
everyone to understand is
Yeah,
that I don't play many mobile games. Like basically, the only mobile games I play are for Sonic Stadium, and only if I find them fun. um, and so it's like, it's fun enough. And after 30 levels, you unlock Sonic's Dream Race, I think it was called. Um, and that was basically a score attack thing where you and a bunch of other characters were like compete, or like, being visualized on a green racetrack, and a green hill racetrack. And the more points you get, the further ahead you get. And that was basically where I stopped. I forgot to even get a recording for that one.
mm,
But there wasn't too much to that beyond like a fun little classic Sonic animation and that little green hill visual. So moving on to Angry Birds and Friends, which is the oldest game they did the crossover for. I think it was like came out in 2012. You can tell it's the oldest because it
it looks
basically
like
looks like
Flash.
it looks like the original Angry Birds, which
Yeah,
had very primitive visuals. And uh all that was really involved with that game was, again, I had to get through a like the first, I think, I don't know, 30 or 40 levels or something like that, basically what amounted to the game's tutorial section, where you unlock a bunch of birds, and then from there we uh you unlock like this special Sonic tournament, which I recorded a bunch of levels from that. I think all ten levels from that on YouTube if you want to see for yourselves. But it's basically just a bunch of Sonic themed Angry Birds levels, where the Sonic characters are just kind of static images in the background. It looks very awkward. Um,
yeah. It like they just took the stock art and just made them stand there. And admittedly, like the appeal of it would be, hey, they made things. They put obstacles in it that are shaped like Sonic related stuff, and they have some additional Sonic related gimmicks. But it also looks
like
very.
like the pigs are dressed up either as Dr. Eggman or as they're wearing like the armor of various badniks. Some of the items and obstacles are badniks. You've got like
Yeah, that's the
golden
only
speed
difference between
shoes.
any. That's the only difference between that and any other Angry Birds level. And what's worse
There's
is, I don't know what it is, but I have a pretty large phone, and for some reason, those bigger levels, they just shrink out, and the graphics get so small, it's really hard to see which bird you even have in the slingshot after a
huh,
while.
one interesting thing about this is that it does incorporate like sonic loops and like curves into the course design. Which there was some success with that. I didn't play with it too much because, like, I don't know. I was just trying to get these recordings, if I'm being honest. um, but like it worked sometimes, but felt unreliable. I kind of think maybe they're pushing the game's engine a little too hard. But also, like, I'm not great at this game. Like, I'm decent, but I'm no pro. But like,
I want to
so
hear
you
about
know.
Angry Birds 2. Take me to
All
Angry
right.
Birds 2.
And but one other thing, they also included the "No Fun Allowed" sign meme from the Sonic storybook featuring featuring artwork from Art Mawhinney.
Yeah.
Which
I
is the first time we've seen that in a official thing. That wasn't that book.
yeah, there were a lot of people who felt like it was more important. Well, there were people who felt like it was of significance in a way that it was not. It was purely a reference, and
Yeah.
I
And
had
finally, like, there was also Chaos Emerald you can get and stuff. But okay. So if you want to see all this stuff, just check out the video on the Sonic Stadium YouTube. So, Angry Birds 2.
tell me
This
about
was
it.
one I had to spend money on. And to be clear, the primary reason I spent money on it was because it is like the best game of the 3 that I played. It is a genuinely really fun game. I was a fan of
Yeah,
the
you seem
original Angry
angry at
Birds.
it.
Like back in 2010, I played the original on my Android. I was briefly addicted to it for a time. Um and so when I played Angry Birds 2, it was like, "Oh my god, it's literally a sequel. Like, it's a bona fide sequel. It's not just a name. This expands on all of the mechanics and makes everything so much better. The visuals are genuinely nice. Like, it kind of reminds me of like the Ubisoft 2D games that we were getting back in like the early 2010s. Like, the animation's genuinely nice. It just looks good. And
It seems like it has a campaign in the way that the first one was just a series of,
yeah, it
puzzles.
has a genuine campaign with level themes and level and different music, and the music is like genuinely catchy to me. Like, there are I think at least a couple good tracks, especially for like the lava levels, which I only experienced in the Sonic content, which I'll be getting to soon. But like, it introduces a whole bunch of birds, most of which have add cool new gimmicks that weren't in the original, and it adds all these fun new mechanics. Like, each level has its own gimmicks. Like, it has fans or gravity manipulation, magnetism, like, and, like, there's also magical spells that you have the option of using that can do things like inflate the pigs or turn things into ice, or like there was a Sonic
Oh, someone just got aroused right now.
there was a Sonic spell which was, it just rained rings down on things. It was basically just
A reskin
a
of an
Sonic
existing one.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a reskin version of the rubber ducky one, which rings rubber duckies down. Is probably the least effective and easiest spell that you can get. But like, there's just so much here, and the campaign genuinely fun. But then there's the monetization, and so the monetization touches every aspect of this game. But by and large, I would say if you just want to play the campaign, it's fairly manageable. Like, so the monetization for the campaign is basically, hey, do you want spells? Well, you can buy these bundles that come with spell cards. Do you want to play the game for more than like, I don't know, 15 minutes? Because every single time you want to play a campaign level, you spend 10 bonfires. I don't know, but it's like a fire thing.
Yeah, your timer
And-
currency. Like
Yeah.
every mobile game has something like this if it restricts how much you can play.
And so, like, each one has 10. You can get up to 60. It fills up 1 point every 3 minutes. So you can come back, like, I don't know, every hour if you want to play a little more. But, like, so it restricts how much of the campaign you can play. But then, if you want to get into the game's cosmetics, well, for that, you need these black orbs. This game has, like, 6 different currencies, I think. Like, it's insane. But so, like, for hacks, you have to earn black orbs, which you can use to you can get gradually for free over the course of the game by just playing the various levels. But if you want to, like, get any of the higher end hacks, like the epic hacks, you need like 10,000 orbs.
Yeah.
I played this game for like over a week. And again, I did spend some money on it, and I ended up getting like 3,000 orbs in total, which would have been enough for like one hat, for one bird, and not for like, and for like only for the lower ranks, like the epic ranks. Though again, like I said, those are 10,000. I didn't come close to even getting one of those.
I'm getting flashbacks to the dang cookie game. I'm getting flashbacks to the cookie game.
I could go on because like there are all these other different modes that have currencies. Like there's a competitive mode that has tickets that you can buy, but you can also earn for free in low amounts. I could just keep going.
Now I'm getting flashbacks to the Fist of the North Star game. Oh, Fist of the North Star game, you get books, and every book is specific to a particular character, and you have upgrades to go, and you get water, and water is experience, and I'm also remembering Sega Heroes. Sega Heroes, like, I could not put any money in because it was the end of life for that game, but my God, was it miserable with its specialized currencies and items.
I forget. Did you end up beating that?
I did. I played as much as was available, and I don't know if it had a meaningful ending. I don't think it did.
It didn't.
Nope.
But okay. So the Sonic content. Okay. There is this thing called the Tower of Fortune, which, by the way, is connected to another currency.
Right.
The most expensive currency, the premium currency. The one I spent money on. These pink gems. So every 20 hours, you can gain access to the Tower of Fortune. The Tower of Fortune is literally a casino where you are presented with 5 cards. One of them is a pig. The other 4 are various rewards. Oh, by the way, another currency is apples, which you can feed to your little chick, which can, like, buff your slingshot.
Which anyway, do, chicks eat apples, of course.
But anyway, I keep getting sidetracked. But anyway, so the Tower of Fortune. Casino. And so, like, and if you hit a pig, you can continue by either using one ad or by spending 20 gemstones, and then if you do that once, it goes up to 50, then 100, then 200.
Can I take a guess here?
Yes.
I should say, let me present the 2 possibilities that I have in my head. The unlikely possibility, based on what you're describing so far, can you, using the currency that you have, just get whatever Sonic hat that you would want? Okay, that's what I was worried about.
It is impossible.
Do you have to, through this Tower of Fortune, luck into one of the randomized Sonic hats without a choice as to which you might be able to get if you are lucky enough to even get it at all?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes,
we're in the mobile hellscape here.
The only reliable way, reliable in quotation marks, to get a Sonic hat in Angry Birds 2 is to earn one by chance in the Tower of Fortune. Do you want to know how many I earned?
I am going to guess you got... Ooh. The problem is, it's either going to be 0 or 1, and I'm going to lean on 0.
I got 2.
Oh, that's much more than I expected.
The Sonic one I actually had to get twice. Because I did not understand how the Tower of Fortune worked the first time around. And so I got the Sonic hat, then I kept going, then I got a pig, and I was like, oh, crap. It's telling me I'm going to lose everything. I really don't want to spend any more money right now. Or actually, I don't think I spent any money at that point. I was trying not to spend any money. That's always my goal in these games. Don't spend a dime. And so I frustratingly, I threw it out, threw it away, came back the next day. I got it again. Then I immediately exited the Tower of Fortune because that is the only way you get to keep it. And then a couple days later, so a couple days later, I managed to finally get Rouge, which was a relief. Because the game does give you another way to earn at least one hat, and that there was basically for the Sonic event, there was this other mode called Adventure Mode, which is basically because you can take any bird in a Sonic hat, and you have to get through a number of increasingly difficult challenges. And the midpoint of that was the big hat. And so, after I got Sonic and I unlocked that, I basically spent the rest of the event trying to get that goddamn big hat. And it was after the 7th level, and I only managed to get to the 6th. Even after I got Rouge, I just did not have enough Sonic hats to get to the 6th. And near the end of the event, I decided, okay, but what I ended up doing was my original plan was to throw this game like $7 because it's fun. There's a lot of content. Yeah. I think it looks nice.
It is reasonable to spend money in a mobile game as long as you are budgeting properly and you feel like that money will give value.
I think it deserves some money from me, and so I threw it $7. Or thereabouts. I ended up spending $12, by the way, because I guess I was really trying to get that one goddamn hat, but and twice the game tempted me with Tails. The Tails hat was on the 25th floor of the Tower of Fortune, and I missed it both goddamn times. And that was that. I spent $12 primarily on this one mode. And, I never got squat. I didn't get diddly. And there's, now that the event is over, there's still no way to get those goddamn hats.
Because that's how mobile FOMO works.
After the fact.
I'm hearing you say you spent $12, and I'm just sort of chuckling to myself because I can tell you I have spent significantly more for what I have done for the streams for the site prior, and
well, I can tell you probably would have needed to spend $50 on this game to get these hacks. There are some high points in the Tower of Fortune where it says you were guaranteed hacks. And so, if you were willing to drop the money, you probably could get there on a single run. I don't know. I didn't want to find out. I was like, okay, this game is starting to activate a portion of my brain that I don't like feeling activated, so I am just going to stop. This is the hard limit. F you, Angry Birds 2. This is it. I've given you all the money you're getting from me, you goddamn vultures. And so I recorded some footage of the entire mode with my 2 goddamn Sonic hats, and I need to get it uploaded to YouTube so that, like, I wanna, like, put together a little article or something.
Well,
But
I can tell you, I have whenever this was announced, there was something I was feeling that was just sort of solidifying that I don't think I want to do another situation where I am just playing like an absurd amount of mobile games because there is the Sonic event just to do it for stream content. And I have told myself effectively that if I do not think I am going to feel good by doing this, then I will not do it,
eh,
regardless of any of this. And I think for me, the worst part of this, the worst part of this is that it was a week. They gave you a week
Hmm.
to
technically
cover.
this one was a little longer than a week.
It was effectively, it was like a week and then a little bit longer,
Like
like an extra
10
day or
days.
two. Yeah, but
It's one of those mini seasons that they put in Fortnite, like the Ninja Turtle one. But at
and
least at the end of that, you still get Ninja Turtles and Shredder and all that. Where
uh,
here, well, you don't get Ninja Turtles; you have to buy those separately. But you still at least get Shredder. Here, you don't get you get
If I'm
a
gonna
tiny
be
bit of thing
honest,
that you're not going to use again.
I'm still glad I did it because, I was doing this for the site, for Sonic Talk. I needed to experience this game's wretched monetization, and I have. So, I would be able to talk about it. I could record some footage. I'm happy with everything. Like, ultimately, it's not like this game was able to prey on me and extract $100 out of me.
you are
Um,
richer in knowledge, even though you are not so in money.
Yes. Like, ultimately, like, if they sold this game for $15, I would probably wait for a sale, but I would at least understand it. Like, because like I said, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of content. I plan on coming back to this regularly until I beat the campaign. Because
Good.
it's still
Be
fun.
fine if they put it in like Apple Arcade or something. That'd be
And
okay.
I mean,
For
I
this
might once
case,
again draw the comparison to Cookie Rush Kingdom, where like the aesthetics of that game are great. Like the RPG fights, they're entertaining enough. The story attached to it is nice. It's the kind of thing where like if it wasn't attached to the miserable like waiting portion, like the idle gaming portion of game design, and its absolutely abhorrent hard sell tactics for that, it'd be like, yeah, I would play a set price game of this and pay up to probably like, maybe like $25 total for like a full-fledged game, but that's not really their model for that, and they don't
Nope.
want people to pay $25. They want whales to pay thousands of dollars. So
Mm.
I don't know, but
Oh, and one other thing is, it's possible to upgrade all of the hacks using another
of course it
currency.
is. Of course it is.
Um,
Tell me how to upgrade the
these
hats.
star. So you can upgrade the hacks with star coins, and what this does is it makes your berg stronger. It says temporary. I don't know if that was really the case. It seemed like it never went away, but it gives Red, who's in the Sonic hat, like a Sonic stomach. And if I managed to upgrade a third time, I would have he would have gotten hangs and a ring. And it gives Rouge her black skin tight suit and a breastplate.
So, question then: can you only upgrade them during the event,
Um,
or can you continue to upgrade
I
them now?
think so because I'm trying to find it. I'm not, and I don't see it.
God, I hate. I was almost impressed for a second in thinking like, oh, the normal way that you have this upgrade path go is you have to collect the same thing multiple
Like, part of the
times
issue
over.
is I could never find it.
Yeah.
Like on my recording, you see me like navigate. You're gonna see me navigating around a bit, trying to remember where it is. And I knew I was not gonna get another take because like I wanted to incorporate the loading screen from the start of the game into that. And it was they already went away on one of my devices. So like I don't know.
So I'm gonna push us forward because we're already more than an hour into the show here.
Yeah, but
So,
we did just cover a major news item though, so
it was the big
so
thing that
let's
happened
skip
this
that.
month.
Because there's another Sonic mobile game thing that happened this week.
There is
a bunch.
too many. So we have one confirmed game and a lot of leaked games. So many leaked games. All of them from mobile platforms. The first and probably the most significant one is going to be Sonic Toys Party, which is effectively it's been being compared to Fall Guys, and there's a lot of reasons why that is valid, but if you decide to identify it as a ripoff of Fall Guys, I might push back on that.
Yeah, I've played a lot of Fall Guys. It's not exactly like that.
Yeah,
but
kind
like
a ripoff exactly.
Fall Guys and Sonic R, I guess.
No, I wouldn't even compare it to that. Sonic R is a straight up car racing game where your car is a person.
This is racing with obstacle courses, you know. But Sonic themed.
Yeah, if you hey, it is like Fall Guys in that both of them are a large scale multiplayer obstacle course / event game where you where basically you compete against a large number of people and, you know, try to collect characters and or cosmetics. And the idea being like, hey, be the top person, be the battle royale, like, you know, that's the genre it is. The places where I would say it diverges from Fall Guys, and it speaks for me, it speaks to like, what does Fall Guys do well? And the ethos of Fall Guys is like, it's not precise. It doesn't control like well. It's supposed to be sort of clumsy and off kilter, and it's comedic in its in the way that like it evokes failure. Whereas the way that Sonic Toys Party looks is perhaps a bit more technical. Like you can do obviously you're moving your character in 3D space, but you can also do things like jump, homing attacks, go through loops, grind on rails. Like these aren't things that Fall Guys is really built around. These are like platforming aspects. Like there's no point in Fall Guys where you are defeating enemies as part of your task. It's usually like, hey, don't get tossed off the edge here. Whereas like Sonic's like, hey, collect all these rings, defeat all these enemies, just get through this difficult section. It's structurally, I get the comparison. It's just, it doesn't feel like it has the same Fall Guys spirit in the same way. But structurally, yeah, it's a valid comparison. We're expecting it June or July. It looks like they're going to have a bunch of characters. Presumably, those characters in the game's mythology are probably going to be like toy versions of those characters.
Yeah. If you were like, I don't know if you really want to call this a mythology, but I'm assuming that's how Sega wants to like treat this in terms
theming.
of the canon.
Like it's theming, we'll say. Like much in the same way that the Mario vs. Donkey Kong had its minis to kind of, you know, prolong the way that it themes that series. This doesn't seem that far removed from the concept, and why I'm guessing they're calling it Toys Party, to be able to say, like, this is why there's 12 Sonics here on the track or something. I don't know.
So like, you know...
it's self-explain it. And
we know this game will have 32 simultaneous players, and later trailers showed that, you know, just like Fall Guys, it whittles things down to 16 players and then 8 players over the course of 3 rounds. And in addition to that, like, you also get all these different cosmetics. Like, in the first trailer, we can see lots of Sonics and top hats, lots of different Shao. we had it confirmed from Midori that the Xiao will like affect gameplay somehow, like
Sure, sure.
boost the players something or other. Like
But
so,
beyond that, like, I mean, it looks all right. Like that's the
it
number
looks
one thing
fun
I
to
could say
me.
about it.
Like I'm kind of annoyed this isn't on a console because I kind of want this on a console. I'm getting to a point where, oh my god, I'm gonna have to like get like one of those phone controllers, aren't
I
I?
mean,
Because
ideally,
I'm
if it's
really
going to
hoping
be
this.
if it's going to be
I'm really
mobile,
hoping it'll show up
go ahead.
on the Apple TV. I know it won't show up on Apple Arcade because it's going to be paid. It's going to be a paid service thing, but even
and
on
we
regular
know it's
Apple
coming to
TV would be
Android.
fine.
Well, we're also at this point, this is with the assumption that it would support controllers, which like we've had both Sonic Dash and
I
Sonic Forces Speed Battle forever, and they are adamantly non-controller. The last time you could
Yes,
control
but
Very true.
things
neither
with
of those have an on-screen analog stick.
yeah. Yeah, that's
This
true
has an
enough.
on-screen analog stick and buttons. I would be shocked if this didn't have controller support.
It wouldn't, but also, you know, if they're targeting kids today, kids don't seem to care. They'll play Fortnite with
I
their
mean, like I'm not saying only do controller support. They could do both, like Sonic Dream Team.
look. Ideally, yes, but also the reality of the situation is a lot of games just don't bother. Like
Ugh.
it's just the
This
nature
game
of
better bother because it looks fun, but I want a controller.
it. Look, yeah, it looks all right. I think I would run into the same problem that I do with Fall Guys, which like Fall Guys is fun for a couple of rounds. Am I gonna play it beyond a season? Probably not. I
I
don't.
can see myself coming back to it, especially if they add like new characters or something. And
Yeah, but
speaking of the
yeah,
characters, you know how I always want them to add all the characters.
yeah. It looks like they have a
Well,
bunch.
this kind of does that. Like
Yeah, it does have a
like
bunch and one Sonic with a disguise on it. So this is another one of those where they can pretty much release every single Sonic character and then put every
yeah.
single Sonic character with a hat on it
It
later
seems like
down the
the
line.
characters might be divided to like into like different sizes because we've got Cream and Charmy who are smaller. But then we've also got Eggman and Big the Cat, who and Vector, who are all kind of on the bigger side. And like we've also got Silver, we've got Blaze, we've got Metal Sonic, Shadow, um,
Now it's
Jet.
now it's worth saying that basically anything that we've seen so far, because this is a leak, our understanding is the leaks came from varying points of development, so
Yeah.
anything that we've seen in videos are may not even be applicable by the time that this thing comes
I mean,
out.
it's possible, but we know the first leak, which had fewer characters, was from like about a year ago, about around the summer, and that
It
had like
almost seems
6 characters.
yeah, at that point it almost seems like, hey, we're still in, pitch mode where we're trying to make sure that we can get this full thing to make sense.
And the newer one, we just know it's newer. We don't know the exact age, but certainly it looks nicer. I'm not seeing any obvious like graphical filler. Like one thing to note about the first trailer is that it has its logo is basically the Toy Story logo,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm hoping that's the placeholder.
Yeah, or else they might have a little bit
Eh,
of a problem later down the line.
I guess.
And
I
the
don't
first
think you could I don't think there's a case to be made that like they could get sued for that. It's not
the first trailer also uses at least one fan render,
right. Yeah.
which I don't, which depending on what the second trailer had, it may have been removed because I don't know, but it looks more complete. Has way more characters. Like it has Jet without his board, which is surprising to me. This is probably why they had to call it Sonic Toys Racers, because as I understand it, you cannot feature Jet without his board in anything.
Uh, does he have it in Speed Battle?
Yes, he does.
Even
All
in
the
the hockey costume?
Yes, all of the Babylon rogues are on their boards.
Okay, even in are they in Dash? They've got to be in Dash, right?
Jets and Dash, I have no idea. I don't think I've ever unlocked Jets.
Because also, well, through a layer of abstraction of time travel storytelling nonsense, he is in the multiplayer of Black Knight, and he does not have a board as a member of the Knights of the Round.
Okay, that's true. But in fairness, these
Like
rules do
like
change,
I
so maybe
said,
that rule didn't exist back then.
I don't know. It's
Like, I'm just going
sure,
by what Flynn has said on Bumble King.
sure. But yeah, there's that. Looks all right. Just to jet through a couple of those whatever. We've got Puyo Puyo Puzzle Pop. That was actually officially announced for Apple Arcade coming soon. Hey, did you like Puyo Puyo Tetris? This looks like
It's more
Puyo
like
Puyo
Puyo Puyo
Tetris.
Tetris.
It looks like Puyo Puyo Tetris without the Tetris. It has the sort of campaign mode that you would expect from that type of game. It has a roster that thus far has been very, very similar to it, but we're expecting it to be bigger. In terms of Sonic stuff, it looks to have the standardized Sonic Puyo skin that has been in Puyo games for probably a decade at this point, if not
Yeah. Like, I
longer.
thought that was a thing for characters, but I've barely touched Puyo Puyo outside of Tetris and Fever, and apparently that's an avatar.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
there's the avatars, but I'm also talking like the Poyo skins themselves. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Which I wasn't aware there were Sonic Puyo skins until we saw them.
yeah. Uh like I said, they've been around for almost a decade at this point. Uh yeah, it looks fine. I look forward to trying it, but like it's more Poyo. It doesn't seem like they have a particularly strong spin on it. It looks like it
It's
will be like, hey, if you're using a touch screen, they give you a lot of options to be able to play, which is good because you would probably need a lot of options to play that on a touchscreen.
Mhm.
Coming from the leaks, we are expecting an All-Stars Tennis uh, on Apple Arcade as well. I don't believe this is actually released. It's rumored at this point, but
Yeah, it's a rumor, but it's a rumor from Midori, so it's pretty reliable.
exactly.
And and so we know it's Sega All Stars Tennis, and so presumably it's going to feature a bunch of other Sega characters, and is an Apple Arcade exclusive, at least for the moment, though probably for a while.
And
Um,
we haven't had like
Yeah.
an actual Sega tennis game in, I would say, at least what, a full
It's the
hardware
Wii.
generation and a half?
I mean, are you counting Virtua? You mean like Sega as in Virtua Tennis?
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
last
I
Virtua
think.
Tennis we've even had, like we had Virtua Tennis and All Stars Tennis roughly in the same time period,
Well,
and
we
they
had
were on the PS3.
yeah, like Virtua Tennis. I think. I'm sorry. Sega Superstars Tennis was, as I recall, like 2008.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But
But I am looking forward to this just because I love my Sega crossovers.
I like
Sega
tennis.
Superstars Tennis was my least favorite of those crossovers, but
Well, yeah, but
at this point,
also
I feel kind of starved for it. So,
I, I I will agree that it is my least favorite of them, but also I still like it quite a bit because I like arcadey video game tennis, and those original ones, I would not say they are as fun as Mario Tennis, but they are still pretty fun. I like them.
mhm.
Uh yeah, I'm sorry. I have lost the thread on where we are in the notes. So hey, speaking of losing the thread, so hey, Also, speaking of things that are from a decade ago,
2 decades
Ragnarok
ago.
Online.
Wait, the 2002. Yeah, 2 decades ago.
Ragnarok
Yeah,
Online is a game that is old as dirt.
2002.
And for some reason, and you can still get it on Steam. Like it's not like it isn't there and it isn't maintained to some degree. But for some reason, we're getting a Sonic crossover with it, a collaboration with it. I don't remember what you get out of it, but but it's just inexplicable on its own that it is even happening because
It's weird to
Yeah,
see something that's DLC that's sprite based, you know? It's not just
like
skin of a
I don't
3D
know.
thing.
To me, like the only thing that would be more uncanny than this would be like Sega doing a crossover with Sega doing a tie-in with like Ultima Online or
oh
something. Like just
cripes,
the only game I can think of that's older and still going. I don't
yeah.
know. Sega and EverQuest 2.
Oh, say I can't wait for the the Sonic crossover with the old BioWare Sonic MMO or Star Wars MMO, Knights of the Old
So,
Republic.
during this event, a special dungeon will be made available to play, which will include unique enemies that are styled to look like Dr. Eggman.
Yep.
So you're fighting Dr. Eggman enemies. Apparently, the Dr. Eggman secret base memorial dungeon will be accessible inside Frontera, and you'll need to be at a base level of 100 or higher in order to fully enjoy the stage. So this is not something we could do.
Yep. It's for
Well,
the whales.
once completed, an exchange NPC will appear so you can swap items gathered for special rewards. That NPC will be none other than Knuckles the Echidna. Oh, I'm glad Knuckles has found some work between games.
Yeah, there's
This
Oh,
would
hey,
be a cross promotion
wow.
with the
I'm looking
series.
at some of the sprites right now. They look wild.
they
Like, it's
absolutely
kind of
do.
it's kind of 32-bitness. We've got like, yeah, we've really got some Dr. Eggman enemies here. Like we've got Dr. Eggman himself, which looks nice. Like that is some like nice high-end 32-bit art. We've got a Sonic a Dr. Eggman face on an angel, Dr. Eggman stone, Dr. Eggman mushroom, a Dr. Eggman turtle, and I don't know. Looks like a Dr. Eggman. I don't know, hedgehog or ankylosaurus or something. I don't know what the heck
And you
that
can get
is.
a supersonic that I guess follows you around or something, or the
And
emeralds have.
Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, I don't know.
Custom
I'm just
Chaos Emeralds.
imagining Chaos Emerald. Like that is peak 2000s MMO of just having a bunch of crap attached to your character that, makes them look like unparsable.
Well, I'm glad that they've released some visuals for this because this is about the only way we're going to see anything. Because I know I'm not getting myself up to level 100 to record some footage.
I yeah, I don't know who this is for. I don't know who this appeals to, but I guess if you want to find what I'm assuming is an affordable partner for cross promotion, Sega has long proved itself to be very affordable and very accessible for people who want to put Sonic in things.
There's a Sonic collaboration package, which will be available for a year. And there's the Sonic Badge package and Supersonic Badge package. And they come with Sonic badges and
I
the
don't think we need to
Supersonic
break down
costume.
every single aspect of this, man.
So there's like,
Wait
I
on
guess,
me now,
monetization to
speaking
this too.
badges.
We get it. There's stuff.
I was just like wondering, like, how are they gonna level grind me? I guess they're gonna like, I don't know, make you buy whatever this KP currency is.
Sure. But what you could also buy is a bored ape. Do you want to buy a bored ape?
Yes, I actually have several. I bought them for 20 cents. No, no. I probably could though at this point.
Tell me. I need to know your. I need to know your Ethereum. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I was gonna make a joke about cryptocurrency, but it's all so freaking stupid. As is this. So freaking stupid. So I don't even remember the name of this. I could probably bring it up, and I probably should bring it up to be responsible as
I mean,
a
if you're
host
not
of a
going to, then
podcast.
I'm going to.
So
So,
yeah, there is the Bored Ape Yacht Club has for a very long time, for as long as we've been living in the frickin' crypto NFT nightmare,
ugh.
pledged that they are building a MMO project, and almost every crypto project that is promising something tangible and meaningful and popular that you can use crypto with, it's so often fails because nobody involved with these understand any fundamentals of business, and many of them are just straight up scams and grifters.
Yeah. Hmm.
However, we are getting something like an MMO for
It basically just looks like, hey, you can put all of your apes in a Sonic Frontier stage. Enjoy.
it really looks like Sonic, like it's bizarre the degree to which it looks like. So I got pushback from this from people, from a
Of
handful of
course
people who's
you
like,
did.
"Well, it's not like Sonic Frontiers." Like, "Well, are you
It has
saying
the
that
same level aesthetic, and you're grinding around an open world.
in a
That
very Sonic-like manner?" Like, it's not that the entire identity of Sonic Frontiers is grinding, but a large part of Sonic Frontiers' identity is the way that they turned grinding into just its sort of navigation network. Like you
Okay.
literally, as you go through the game and uncover parts of the map, establish more of a grind rail network. And this whole thing is built on like just this big grind rail network. It's nuts. It's strange, and it looks a lot like the Sonic animations for it.
And
Uh
it even has like something like those Starfall stars with the glowy bits.
well,
I remember that from the
to
trailer.
to a degree, but also like that's just open world stuff.
Ah.
Like Legend of
By the way, it's called Other Side.
sure, yeah, it's other side. It's their metaverse. What is there to do in this metaverse? Well, you can take pictures, and those pictures can get you an achievement, and it runs poorly because it's a because number one, you're trying to run it in a
Because if
browser,
it,
which comes with its own problems.
because if it ran well, it would require effort, basically.
Effort, competence,
Yeah.
funding, meaningful funding, as opposed to, the standard way that, like, the ability to turn crypto into something that you can pay people with. Yeah, so it's weird. It's bizarre. I thought it was hilarious. I think it looks like garbage. Some people were saying like this looks better than, so like making the jokes at Frontier's expense. And
And
I am not the biggest fan of Frontiers. I am explicitly not the biggest fan of Frontiers. If you think this looks better than Frontiers, then you did not look at this. You did not see it in motion. You did
Yeah.
not miss it. You did not see it hitching every few seconds. It's awful. It performs
There's even
poorly.
I'm watching it right now. There's even colored beams going up to the sky, like several
Well, like I said,
checkpoints in Sonic Frontiers.
yeah, but even then, Sonic Frontiers took that from Breath of the Wild, and I think Breath of the Wild took it from someone else. So that I'm not willing to do that because that's just open world design. No, like if Breath of the Wild had a massive network of grind rails, then I wouldn't bring this up as compared to Sonic. I would say, oh, they're stealing the Breath of the Wild grind rail network, whatever. But yeah, it's dumb. It's very dumb.
Hmm.
Uh,
Now, less dumb but still Frontiers related
yeah.
is the we got some info on Sonic Frontiers development from the dev team. And for me, like, I don't know. It was just what was so this was so for the record, this was built off of a machine learning translation, which most translations are these days when we cover it. Um, it had some people thinking that if this game failed, uh, that then like it would have been all over for Sonic because sometimes machine translations translate Japanese language in a very dramatic fashion. But for me, like what was fascinating about this was that like just the way they just this has so many firsts for them. Presumably because partially because this was the kind of the first game they built on this scale. Like they like for instance, they had their background artists divided into multiple different teams, like the Ruins team and the Rock team and the Plant team. And by the way, speaking of team size, the team itself was actually a much larger than we initially thought. Like it's not 60 people, it was 120 developers and 20 planners. So the team size was actually pretty big for them, and um,
It's
it was go
size
on.
wise, I would say it's definitely not as big as it would take to create, let's say, an Ubisoft open world, but it is probably comparable to what you would need for, I would say maybe like a Breath of the Wild style game, something
Yeah,
of that scale and complexity and the understanding of like how Nintendo staffs their stuff.
yeah, but like as I understand, this was a so the way they structured their teams was a first for Sonic Team. And also, of course, since this was their first like attempt at an more open game, the game had some significant early growing pains. Like a year into the game's 5 year, was it 5 year dev cycle? The prototype was apparently still like not satisfactory to them. Um, like originally, the open zone gameplay centered purely around solving puzzles, and like they just felt that this just didn't feel like Sonic, which yeah, like especially given the caliber of puzzles that we got. Like for me, I like the puzzles as a smaller part of the overall gameplay loop of exploring, running around, doing various platforming challenges, and fighting enemies. But if that was all the game was, then like yeah, I just that it would have been a significantly lesser game. But but the team, and so according to one of the devs, Hirano, the team was too focused on puzzle solving gameplay at this point. And so, but then, so apparently, what turned things around was when one of the younger devs who'd been with Sega for 3 years suggested a grind rail generator gimmick, which, of course, manifested in the grind rail network that you gradually unlock over the course of the game. Um, and for and they then made a big change to how they were designing the open world in order to lead the player to solve puzzles and have battles while having fun moving through the world. So that was kind of their big breakthrough. Um,
But you can catch the entire bit of
yeah.
information. Like
Now,
the key
one,
thing here is like it's bigger. It's a bigger team than they would have had before. It's obviously a bigger project than they would have had before, and they at least give you a sense of like here's how the project
and
iterated over time.
perhaps the biggest thing to come out of this though was that this was the first Sonic game that got repeat playtesting. Like, you know how we got all those early leaks on 4chan about people who were playtesting the game? Like, that's where this came from. They were doing repeated playtests through in Japan and America for years, and they kept adjusting everything to the feedback. And early on, the feedback wasn't great, but over time, they started getting more eights and nines, and that's when they started to feel more satisfactory. It's kind of wild to me though. This was like the first time Sonic Team has ever done that.
That's very scary. Yes, that is something that most developers, have already gone through. That's concerning, but at least they're growing into a more professional studio, I guess, or a studio on par with other developers? Question mark.
I mean, at the very least, the lack of this does kind of explain certain games like Shadow and Sonic 06 to me.
Yeah, I mean Sonic 06 has other issues, like, they were
Okay,
very
Shadow
on
then.
they a lot of those were on very clear like, that was the era where they were releasing a Sonic game every year, and, like, a full 3D Sonic game, and
If you want to count like spin-offs, multiple Sonic games a year.
yeah, and all of them had Sonic Team involvement in some way. Obviously, Sonic Team would still have multiple teams, and like sometimes it'd be like, well, we're going to America and we're gonna have our American studio, but like that's still bandwidth that you have to account for. So yeah,
Now, as I understand it, there's another Sonic Frontiers thing that you're a little more into.
yeah. Hey, we are there. There was a new major mod release. Major might be an exaggeration. There was a new mod of significance to me? Question mark. Uh, we saw the release of Desert Bus Frontiers, and it is we'll say a recreation-ish of the not unreleased 1994 Sega CD game Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors, which contained a specific mini game replicated in Sonic Frontiers called Desert Bus. And the appeal of the heavy air quotes appeal of Desert Bus is that it is a it is meant to simulate something that you could actually experience in real life, as opposed to like a flight simulator. You're not going to like most people aren't going to fly a plane. You could very reasonably drive a bus from Tucson to Las Vegas, Nevada. Uh and the game itself is basically, hey, drive this bus in real time. There is absolutely nothing to look at. It's just a desert. There's no other cars. You cannot completely zone out because your car veers to the right just slightly, which means you have to pull to the left on occasion. And like the biggest highlights are sometimes you will get a bug splat on your windshield. That is the that is one of the very few things to actually visually happen across the entire experience. It is 8 hours in real time, and if you last that 8 hours, you get 1 point, and then you turn around and go back the other direction. So Sonic or Desert Bus Frontiers is not quite the absolute replication of that, but it does replicate a lot of the significant features of Desert Bus, which is to say, if you want to walk, it's going to be to 8 hours. Apparently, you can get it to around 3-ish if you use the boost liberally. However, Sonic will, like an actual Desert Bus, veer slightly to the the right. So you do have to pay attention and actually move him. Now, if you go off-road at all, also like in Desert Bus, it is an immediate game over failure. Although in this case, you just lose a life because, that's the mechanics of the game. It's fun, it's stupid, it's kind of broken because that game is not meant to have levels that big. And I will tell you, there is definitely a flashing lights warning there. I absolutely encountered, like, fast flashing polygons that would have been a problem if I was sensitive to that kind of thing. So just, player beware, but, go on the site, check it out. It's fun and dumb, and for me, it's the right kind of fun and dumb. However, that's not the only mods that were, highlighted on the site this week. We also got a series of mods for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. So
I really need to buy this game.
I got it.
I'm
Honestly, I was sincerely hoping that I would be able to talk about it this week on the show, but unfortunately, just the timing did not work out.
Well, next month, hopefully.
But effectively, hey, they've opened up to like custom levels that you could import, and character models have also gone a bit further. So
boy.
Sega Sonic Cyberpunk is a mod coming from Zalbro, and effectively just reimagines the characters as the Sonic character models, but also, you know, pulls them into the aesthetic spirit of the game itself. So, you know, it looks a bit more in line with what you would expect from the game. However, the other aspect of it is people have started, we'll say, importing levels. uh, Levels from other Sonic games, and reworking them in ways that they could, you know, operate in Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Be it things like Sonic Riders levels or Sonic Heroes levels, and just playing with the mechanics in a way that fits with how that game operates. And it looks real cool. It looks real cool. It looks
It does.
impressive
I would
how well
love to
they've
get a
adapted
Sonic game that
these.
just looks like this.
It moves so fluidly. The characters are, you know, have amazing animations to them. It's the kind of thing that, like, hey, if you could have had this type of Sonic in the Dreamcast era, then I think that would have dramatically changed the direction of the series.
Hmm.
I don't know. I like it. I think it looks real cool. And it's something that I look forward to trying out after I've played the game proper.
Huh.
But yeah,
Let me know let me know if this thing's ever on sale. I've been kind of hoping to get it for like $15 because
it,
40 just feels like too much.
yeah, I think I got it 25, and I'm hoping it's going to be worth it. Like, I would spend that much on the original Jet Set Radio, and might have spent that much
Yeah,
for
I have that
future.
on the yeah, I have it on Switch. I don't have it on the Steam or anything though, so I wouldn't be able to check that out right now.
Izuka brought up some Robotnik family lore in a Korean fan like meetup.
Yeah. We finally got some Eggman info.
Some, not a lot, and even the stuff that we got, it feels like he broadly seemed to assemble it on the fly. So the obvious caveat to all of this is, hey, when you ask someone a question about the lore on the spot, there's a decent chance that what they say might not necessarily stick, because
It might just be what they're thinking that day.
exactly.
But Izuka is kind of the closest we can really get to a word of God, though. Like, behind him is Ian Flynn, who just kind of tells us what Sega tells him.
And he's
Which,
allowed to
close
talk
enough.
about.
Yeah. But so, I just find it fascinating that Eggman is under 50, probably.
He can't be that far under 50. Like, I don't
I
know,
can
like,
see
Yeah,
him being
probably
40
not.
years old.
yeah.
Well, I don't see any pepper going on the old mustache yet, so
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
I don't know. He has the balding gene in his family must be very strong and hit very early, though. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
I know a guy at work who's like 33 and bald right now,
though
so it's not too.
even then, the language, at least in the machine translation or the general translation of it, is that he is probably under 50. And a lot of what Izuka's saying this as, it sort of hinges on, like, okay, the attack on the space colony arc was about 50 years ago. So everything would be relative to that. So for him, basically, in saying that he is maybe under 50, would be saying he would not have been alive. He probably would not have been alive during the attack on the space colony arc. That he would have been
Yeah, right.
born after those events, which
And
would in
he
turn
didn't know
mean
Maria personally.
exactly. So that's kind of where he logic through that. Although it is worth saying that he highlighted that they are cousins. Uh, and that seems a little less, you know, vague. Those seemed a little bit more matter of fact as a fact that
Hmm.
that the idea that Gerald had two sons, and of those sons, like, hey, they were the children of those, which would make sense given the matching surnames and everything. But yeah, it's
We
something.
we need to see Dr. Eggman's dad.
Do we?
Yeah,
Do
and his
we?
uncle, Uncle Eggy.
No. Well, no. His uncle is. I closed that article off with, why doesn't he call him Uncle Shadow? Like, let's be real. He has a third son. Arguably, he
Yeah,
has a fourth son if you want to consider BioLizard. But
I think we don't want to count BioLizard. BioLizard's like an animal.
I am going to count it as his fourth son, unless BioLizard is not strictly binary male.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
I guess. I don't see him in your graphic though. Oh, hey, there's Doom down there. It's almost a Doctor Doom.
Yeah, and of course, I don't know.
Was there any information on Eggman Nega at all?
Number one, I don't think they want to use him very much, but number two,
Oh no, they don't want to acknowledge him at all anymore.
yeah,
That's something Flynn said. I think.
there's kind of a, we'll see, like they flip flop. Like the mid 2000s is where they didn't know what they were doing with any sort of standardized
Yeah.
mythology. Things were in the future, or they were from a different dimension, and they had no grasp of like how to
Blaze
figure
was
this
from
stuff
another
out.
was from another dimension, but also in the future.
And Eggman
That's kind
Nega,
of what's going on with Blaze, because her backstory is so messed up.
and well, I think for at this point they have settled. Silver is from the future, Blaze is from the other reality, and when Eggman Nega was still a character, I believe the last standing mythology for him was that he is a distant ancestor of the Robotnik family and has gone back in time in order to accomplish what Eggman couldn't, basically to make up for his family's what would you call it, dishonorment or something.
Failures.
So
Eh.
yeah,
I know Ian Flynn doesn't like him because he just considers Nega to be Eggman, but with a different color mustache. Which, I mean, I can't really argue with that. I guess.
Yeah.
I think the right path for him is just make him Eggman but weirder. Like
Oh, yeah, like
Eggman, basically.
Warpnik from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
you don't
Have
even
him
have
slap someone with a fish.
Original character, do not steal, Eggman.
you don't even have to go as far as like Warpnik or even the yellow shapeshifter whose name I can't remember from Sonic Boom. You could just
Dingo.
Yeah, you could just straight up make it so that like, hey, he has weirder plans. Like his like his first plan was, okay, what if I turned people into cards? What if I ruled the world by like just give him these nonsensical plans that don't seem like they would actually do anything of meaning, but are still quite hazardous as is. Beyond that, hey, there was a new Sega there is a new Sega hiring. Hey, Sega's getting into their transmedia stuff. They're looking to have this sort of transmedia strategy across many of their brands, and they have hired Justin Scarpone. I don't know which one. He's formerly of Disney.
Like he should be Italian.
Yeah, he's formerly of Disney. He worked on like some of Disney's mobile stuff in the past, some of their, free to play stuff. He worked for another company that specialized in like free to play stuff. In some degree of transmedia stuff. So you can generally expect, like Sega to continue to make moves into that space. Just
if I recall, they're making like a Crazy Taxi movie now, right?
Look, man, they have previously done things with like, okay, there's going to be a Yakuza TV series. There's going to be a Crazy Taxi TV series or movie. There's supposed to be Space Channel 5 movie on one of the streaming networks at some point. I forget which, maybe Amazon or something.
Space Channel 5 would make a little bit more sense than Crazy Taxi, really.
But projects like
Yeah.
that, they don't till they actually do something. Like that Yakuza TV series was announced like years ago. I would be shocked if it's still actively in production at this point. Like this stuff just disappears sometimes because
Mm.
you know, plans change.
Yeah, but I'm
Mhm.
assuming that he's going to be like helping them move more in that direction.
I mean, look, Sega's already combined their toy division and their amusement machine division to a division that is supposed to specialize in transmedia stuff, which, hey, it's probably going to amount to a lot of the things that they do with Sonic. They probably will want to do with other franchises, and hey, we're already starting to see Jack-specific licensed non-Sonic Sega
Ooh.
franchises
Yeah,
to make
we're gonna get
additional
into that
figures.
soon.
So, decent chance they're going to want to do other stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like in the immediate, the type of thing I could see them coming up with is in the same way that they periodically just make Sonic animation projects, and the way that they will probably continue what Angry Birds is already doing. Like you could do very similar with something like, hey, we're bringing back Crazy Taxi. We could do a Crazy Taxi animation. Hey, we're continuing to make Monkey Ball stuff. We can make a Monkey Ball animation or something like that. Like it's heck,
They're making a Streaks of Rage movie,
that
supposedly, from the John Wick
Supposedly.
creator.
that's you're just making a movie from the 80s. Like that's what Streets of Rage was.
Pretty much.
Streets of Rage was literally the 80s infatuation with like gangs in
Yeah,
the east and western coast, and the
I
idea that
completely agree with you.
like
And I kind of hope they do that.
Friggin' Rumble in the Bronx, basically.
that, or like, hey, I'm a MST3K fan. You can't spit without hitting a bad 80s movie about street gangs.
Oh, in
Nope.
Comic Zone, apparently.
That
These are two relatively recent ones, along with Space Channel 5.
I don't. The problem with Comic Zone is that Comic Zone, it's not like it's a very specific kind of 80s. Like I know it came out in the 90s, but it's very like, hey, we're sort of into Spawn. The tone of that.
Always kind of got from like I don't know those X-Men Apocalypse movies or something.
Yeah,
X-Men
kinda.
Apocalypse comics.
You could just make a comic about a guy, or like a movie going about a guy getting sucked into comics and has to escape. I think it would be very hard to recreate that for a modern audience, like the actual tone of those games,
Yeah,
the tone and like aesthetic.
I think you could recreate Streaks of Rage.
Yeah,
Like
Streets
an
of Rage
80s
seems
an
much more
80s type movie.
straightforward. Like you don't have to do like Streets of
Okay,
Rage.
well,
Yeah, you're making a
we are kind of losing the thread on this though with Justin Scarpone.
yeah, but
Um,
it's a good way to transition into some of the other weird extended media that we're dealing with, because hey, Sonic 3, it's finished 6 months of filming now.
which is technically the longest they've ever filmed, but to be fair, part of that was due to the actors' strike, and then just starting filming in September to record all the stuff for the CG characters. But regardless, yeah, like they were at this for a while.
I am still surprised that they don't feel like they have to delay it. That certainly worries me as it gets to
Well,
the
my
editing
feeling is
process and
that
CG process.
is
But
that they started working on the CG process like back in September.
sure, but you still gotta
Yeah, they
adapt
did a
that
lot
to.
of pre-production and then filmed it. Now they're doing the post-production.
We also had a very weird official music album come out.
Oh yeah. This is all yours. So tell us about the Sonic Shad album.
Weirdly, it's Dread's. It's not mine, but it is
Oh,
bizarre.
okay. Seemed like yours.
So I figured out too much about it. I looked into it too much, but effectively so what happened was Dredd was going on Spotify because he's a Spotify user, and he found, and well, also I think it was a news tip as well. There was an album that listed the metadata that is typically used for, official Sega albums that are up on Spotify, like Sega Sound Team and Sonic the Hedgehog as artists, as well as another artist group called, and I am trying to figure this out, Zinthonic? Something like that. And the cover art, which absolutely looks AI generated.
It's
Yeah.
definitely AI generated. Like, just Sonic with muscles.
Yeah, it's
It reminds me of a fan comic I saw in Sonic Verse Team back in the day.
yeah, and the song that's evolved, it's just a single, and as Dredd describes it, it's like a short techno loop that repeats for a while, and then a version of that is sped up, and then a version of that is slowed down. Just it sounds like just in a software way or something, which is bizarre. And apparently, we were contacted afterwards on the message boards by the person who has done it, basically saying that, oh, this was a mistake. We indicated the wrong things here, which is bizarre that Spotify would let you do that.
You
Like,
can accidentally get credit your music to the Sega Sound Team and Sonic the
Yeah.
Hedgehog on Spotify.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. It's real weird. It's real weird. I don't I don't I don't get what the thing here is, although I do wonder if it's related to TikTok, because at one point there's kind of this theory on some weird TikTok or some weird Spotify albums that are just out there, that the way that TikTok handles things is if you just put stuff on and people are looking for music and you can get them to use your music in something, that you're gonna like shave off the pennies that you get through the TikTok licensing agreement. I don't know if that's what this is intended to be, but it definitely it seems like it has the essence of that, we'll say.
Hmm.
Especially since, like, I don't know. I feel like Sonic Chad is something that has the whiff of search engine optimization to it.
Yeah.
It's memey in that kind of way. So, it was weird. It was a weird moment. Not quite as weird as Sonic apparently doing very well in licensing in the UK.
All that weird. He's always been pretty big in the UK.
Yeah.
Like,
I
there's
don't
a
think
reason
that's
why
too
our
weird.
site technically is still based in the UK, because we used to have lots of UK fans running everything. Now we just have Dread. um, but yeah, the third best performing license in the UK. For January specifically. This info comes from Circana, which used to be NPD, and like I think you're technically not supposed to leak this, but it seems like Dave Luty did,
Or had
somehow,
access in some way,
or had
we'll
access
say.
to it in some way. But so value sales gained from 2023 versus 2024 versus 2023. Sonic is behind Star Wars, which is I think 610,000 pounds, and Gabby's Dollhouse, whatever that is, at 340,000 pounds.
It is a kid series. They actually, the funny part is, one of the things that was cited for this as pushing it into that position was the release, of the Sonic Legos.
Yeah.
And both of those other franchises also have Lego lines.
So, like, Lego is, I think, a pretty big part of all of these, right? Like, in terms
I
of
mean,
the sales.
I do not want to say correlation is causation, but there is definitely correlation.
49% of it was building sets such as Lego. So, almost 90% of Sonic sales in January 24 was due to merchandise, and 49% of that was Lego. Okay. I wrote this, I think. No, Donnie wrote this, but I helped him get with the info. But for context, like, Sonic did better than Ninja Turtles, better than Five Nights at Freddy's, way better than Disney's Wish. So, like,
But
yeah, like,
anything's doing better than Disney's Wish. As somebody who
oh,
unloads freight in
oh,
the Target toy department,
I
yeah,
think Disney. I thought
it's not
Disney Wish
moving at
was
all.
okay. I thought Disney Wish was something else, but there's also Disney All Other, whatever that is.
Yeah.
um. So, like, yeah. So, Sonic's
It's the fact that he's beaten Ninja Turtles is pretty surprising.
just barely, by the way, by
Yeah,
like
just
$10,000
barely.
pounds. I
Which
really wish we had more info.
I
Go on.
really wish we had more Lego Ninja Turtles. Then maybe maybe Ninja Turtles would have beaten him.
Yeah, perhaps. Although, could Lego minifig could
I don't know what the
TMNT
hell's taking
minifig
so
work?
long for a Ninja Turtles Sonic crossover, right? With IDW.
I
Jeez,
can only
it's
assume Sega doesn't want it.
I
Probably.
you give number one, I don't think IDW would want to pay for it, but like you give Sega enough money and they'll do anything. Like that is what I have learned. Look at Ragnarok Online, as we've
Yeah.
already talked about.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah. All Sega needs is some money for most of these things, but I do wonder if they have principles specifically for the comics.
but yeah, hey, here's an unusual one, or perhaps one we should have expected a while ago. There's going to be a Sonic promotion at IHOP.
I
There
love this, by the way.
there is a series of new menu items that will be associated with 5 different Sonic characters, like blueberry pancakes for Sonic, berry pancakes for Amy. I think
Man,
Tails.
Eggs Benedict, I absolutely love.
The Tails one makes me mad because it's called 2 times 2 times 2, and it's like 2 pancakes, 2 meat, and 2 eggs.
two,
I'm like, first off, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, not 6. You're giving me 6 food items, not 8.
um, two Tails 2x2x2 is actually probably what I would get if I go to IHOP while this is going, because
I mean, look,
it's just got my typical breakfast: just pancakes, 2 pieces of bacon, 2 eggs over easy.
look,
I would go for that.
there's only so many food products you
There's
can get at IHOP. It's like the Taco Bell issue. They only have so
Yeah.
many materials to work with, and they're going to find different ways to arrange them. And
And
unfortunately
I
for
think
IHOP, it's even harder than Taco Bell because you can put cheese on anything in Taco
and we've
Bell.
also got Dr. Eggman's Benedict, Amy's Sweet Strawberry Delight, Shadow's
works
Chocolate
well.
Chaos Chocolate Pancakes, and the Knuckles
Which they
Chicken
should
Sandwich.
put as dark chocolate because it's shadow. And Knuckles chicken sandwich should have been a chicken knuckle sandwich. I think would have sounded better.
But yeah,
Yeah,
But overall, I think this is cute, and I like the theming they went with all of this.
but
I'd also go for the Sonic's Blueberry special.
but
Blueberry special. Sorry.
but this is significant for a reason beyond all of that. And it's right now we only know it through speculation because nothing has been officially announced yet. We just, it's through leaks.
You got a data mine.
But there is a very good chance that this is going to play into the Diner Amy costume that has long since been data mined prior for Sonic Superstars.
And as I recall, in that data mine, she was IHOP Amy.
Indeed. So you could probably expect that whenever this goes live and they actually start, advertising it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we could get. That means we could get it, like, next month or something.
The fear is that the menu suggests that this all plays into IHOP rewards. So the dangerous area is much like the comic skins and Kroger's. Are these going to be locked behind some sort of reward program?
Eh,
You would
I hope not.
hope not if it's going to be branded in a meaningful way, but
They're gonna gamify it like that. At least have one more item because there's a little chaos emerald around each of the menu items, but there's only 6 menus items and there's 7 chaos
well,
emeralds. You know.
so what you do is you make a metal Sonic pancake stack, and the way that you serve it is you just wrap it in aluminum foil. That's all you do.
Right. No, what you do is you have the 7, and then if you order all 7 and they punch a card to put it on the app or whatever, then you get a supersonic menu
Jason,
item, which
no human being should ever eat at IHOP 7 times. Like what kind of diabetes nightmare are you recommending for people? Yeah, let me eat these
just
cakes
saying
filled
for
with
people who are
chocolate for 7
regulars.
mornings. Yeah. So, hey,
No, I was saying they would have to try each different one at least once.
I'm gonna fly through some Sonic merch here, just just to get through it. Hey, we have a new staffer, on on staff. Phelan Hearts, we have welcomed him to the Sonic Stadium writing family here, and he has very much produced a lot of Sonic merch reporting for us. And we're not merch people. We will buy some merch, but we are not like merch people. Also, we lost Knuckles.
I am.
Hey, we had there's a new Sonic RC based on Sonic Prime.
It looks fantastic. I really like
Yeah,
this
it's an RC car that basically has the Sonic Prime figure 8 dash as the thing that is being driven. So it's cool. It's interesting, and I am trying to bring up the screen of it. But yeah, it's you know what? That's a neat thing to have be a remote control product. I don't know if
Yeah,
it
enough
will.
of Sonic in the car. Make Sonic the car himself. You know.
Indeed. And hey, you find a way to do it by making his legs be as big as humanly possible. There's Funko Pops. Hey, you don't need me to tell you what a Funko Pop looks like. I'm sure you can imagine what the upcoming Knuckles and Rouge Funko Pops look like. They look
I'm
like
ashamed
every
to
other
admit I
Funko
got
Pop.
the. I'm ashamed to admit I got the Target exclusive Felt Shadow and Amy 2-pack that recently
God.
came out.
So, hey, I don't like Funko Pops at the best of times. You telling me that you got something that is flocked makes me dramatically more upset, because there's two things that happen to flocked toys. Thing number one is they attract dust miserably and are impossible to clean. Thing number two is that eventually the adhesive that holds the flocking on begins to degrade, and then it becomes sticky. So I hope you enjoy that, Jason.
Well, they're staying in the package anyway. They're not coming out.
Jason, that stuff's still gonna get sticky in the packaging.
It that sort of I think it's like a PVC based glue, and I know my Kirby Nendoroid dealt with that as well. It's miserable. But hey, we're getting Easter toys. It's in the style of the, like the tiny line of Jack specific stuff. They're all Easter colors. Some
I got the
characters are colored a
collection.
little different. Cool.
Yeah, I love Eggman as an Easter egg basically, and this is one of the few times you can get a one of the critters that he normally puts in a
Pocky, I think.
badnik on itself. Yeah, and this is Pocky because
And
he's a bunny and it's Easter.
I think the only other one I can think of is whenever they got you the prison capsule one. That comes with a couple small animals.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plus, the Lego line come with the Flickies and the others.
There's a new line in Japan called Sonic Carnival Tokyo. It looks it looks like one of those like fashion lines where it's like, hey, we have characters that look like things, but probably the most significant addition to it is the acrylic standees, which are
I'm
using
looking at this, and this is total artist alley for me. I'm looking at.
Yeah,
right
Oh,
now
these
because
do
it's
look
definitely got a unique
nice.
style, and yeah, it's got that
Oh,
acrylic look.
look! We've got
The fact
classic
that they're
Espio!
official, this is very cool.
so now these are all, if you're not familiar, these are all from the various Sonic Channel social media releases, where they just, occasionally have illustrations that they
Huh.
release, and they've basically just been repurposed for these little acrylic standees. So they look
I
nice.
like these.
I know people
Uh,
complain in the US. I like acrylic standees. I think acrylic standees look cool.
I just like
People
these ones
complain
in
if people complain in
specifically.
the US, how come every comic book convention I go to has, every, artist alley has their own acrylic standees kinda like these
I wish there was a good
nowadays.
I wish there was a good way to make them yourself, because I would be doing that all the time.
Like, we've got classic Espio and some Chaotix rep. We've got Mighty next to a Sega Sonic arcade cabinet. I could get a couple of these.
First Forest got a Tails movie statue. This, I think, completes the set of 3 between Sonic,
It
Tails,
does.
and Knuckles. So
They recently released a video showing all 3 of them together, which looks cool. But I've largely lost interest in first 4 figures because it's
I
just
like
so
having my own
expensive.
money and not
you have to spend it on
seeing
Lego.
it go bye-bye. Yep,
Uh,
Lego I'm okay with. $300 statues, not so much.
But I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah,
what about
Just
$300
not,
Lego statues?
yeah, just not that. It's
no.
not cool.
We're getting some more Jack specific. There's going to be an Egg Robo and a Knuckles with bent arms, which Phelan Hearts was very excited to see the bent arms version of Knuckles. And of course, we are getting 3 non-Sonic figures that I believe are going
Which
to be Walmart
this
exclusive.
Yes, they're Walmart exclusive, and I'm probably going to buy at least 2 of them.
I
We've
might,
got
I might get. I'm not a merch person. I'm not the same kind of merch person that I once was. I might get them. There's gonna be, you can get II, you can get
I
Axel
want
from
II.
Streets of Rage, and you can get the werewolf form of Altered Beast. And I will
Or
tell
Altered
you,
Yes,
Beast.
I am very tempted to get the Altered Beast one, because
I
that
want
is the
Altered
most
Beast.
ridiculous of the 3.
I want
It is
Altered Beast,
such
and I
a
want
we
Monkey
have
Ball.
werewolf at home look.
And
Oh
and
yeah.
most importantly, I want these to sell well because I want more of these. I really want them to do Vice. I really want some Knights. Like
Give me
there
give,
are some Sega
give
characters I would
no,
love to get action figures
give
of.
give me Chuck D Head from Decap Attack.
Yes, and I'm blanking on his name, but the guy from Comic Zone, he'd be a great action figure. Come on,
I
I mean the
think
Alex
safari guy
Kidd.
from Congo Bongo.
no, let's not evoke Congo Bongo. I think we don't need any sort of revival of Congo Bongo.
Ooh La
Please,
La Space
no.
Channel 5, like, we haven't got an action figure of her. Ooh, Beat from Jet Set Radio. Like, there's just
Opa,
so
Oh
many
yeah.
Opa,
possibilities here.
Opa,
Yes,
Opa.
Opa.
Opa Opa would be great.
Mike Cisneros said that if these sell well, we'd like to do more. So hopefully this is just the first wave, and I want to help with that.
This is Knuckles' resume. Hey, get in contact with us, Jax.
Yeah, I know all the Sega characters that you need to make toys of. I've got a short list. I swear, it's only like 50 characters long.
For sake. So we've got a couple bits of news left. We're gonna run through comics real quick. Hey, Sonic Prime is getting some sort of comic adaptation. It's
And that's the first 2 episodes.
so yeah,
I
people
can almost guarantee you this is a Cynic comic.
that's what I'm not
Well,
sure of, because
Yeah,
IDW hasn't
IDW
done that.
Yeah, they usually have people draw the comics. Like I looked at their Star Wars Rogue One comic, all that was drawn. Now, like they could probably get away with that more with Sonic Prime because it's like CG, but that's not what I would personally expect.
But also,
Yeah, because I mean,
so there's
144 pages to be hand drawn is quite a bit.
yeah, so yeah, it's going to be like a graphic novel length. Now, if they are selling this to be, merch equivalent, then yeah, I could see them making Cinecomic or something in those lines. I don't think, especially with their recent financial stuff, I don't think that's completely out of out of the realm of reality. I think they could probably sell that to kids at a small thing, but it's just a matter of like we don't have any history of them doing that. So we
Yeah.
don't necessarily,
I'll
default to them
I
saying,
will say though, like this, of course, like I was predicting an IDW tie-in, and we never got that. And I'm not counting this. To be fair, this is kind of the closest we're probably ever going to get.
Right.
yeah,
um,
but
but
I would say
I
that
think,
hey, if this continues on past the first one, there would be a reason why you would put a lot of focus on those first two episodes, just because it has to establish so much about the
yeah,
series. Once you get past those first two episodes, I can see you moving a lot more quickly.
especially like in that last batch of episodes with all that filler.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
Like I do I've seen some people saying, "Oh, are they gonna improve it? Are they gonna make it good or something?" Because a bunch of people on Twitter hate it.
Yeah,
But like they could at the very least potentially fix up the pacing a little.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
know. That could be something.
Like, hey, you don't need to spend a whole, you know, half of an issue on "We Are in Pirates World." Uh,
Yeah.
No.
uh, we are approaching a Sonic Riders themed arc over in the IDW main series, and
Look
there is
forward to
apparently
that.
going to be a mysterious Phantom Rider. Any guesses on the identity of the Phantom Rider?
My first guess was Mecha Sonic from Scrapnik Island, but looking at it further, like I'm not sure if he could even fit in a costume.
So,
I think he might be too bulky for that. I don't know.
so
Could be an older Trip, possibly.
I
I don't
don't,
know if
I,
they'd use
no,
it.
I don't think they would be willing to cross the brand lines like that.
Well, well, it also doesn't match the head shape,
However,
which is
uh,
like,
so I have my answer, and then I have
Well,
the
the
best.
head shape could be a helmet, so you don't know.
I have my answer, and then I have the best answer that I saw online, which I will then steal without being able to give proper attribution, which I apologize for. My answer is, well, it's obviously Eggman Nigga. But the answer I saw
uh,
online is in comic form, where someone drew a picture of them taking off their helmet, and it is of standard Sonic proportions, red from Angry Birds.
yeah, I remember seeing that. That was hilarious. Um, But like I don't know, for me that like it's hard for me to get excited for this because IDW just isn't a comic book that I feel like can really surprise me. It's like how like the hidden
There's
enemy from the first arc it was Megasonic from Sonic Heroes, which is like that's neat enough, but it's not like Sega had like IDW had like a massive backlog of villains they could use.
yeah, that
So
like we get it. Like the problem with knowing with having Ian Flynn explain what can and can't be used in modern media kind of does suggest that there the applicable we'll say play space that they have to work with characters actually isn't all that big. Like
yeah, like
with
I think the only genuine surprises they could do with this is Starline because he's dead,
hmm,
and also like one of the classic characters that they've been allowed to bring into the modern canon, like Fang or Mighty or something.
I'm trying to
But
think of who would be obscure in that sense, but who would hold that proportions. I think someone on the forum definitely suggested maybe like a Styx as a possibility, which I don't think that
oh
would work.
yes,
I don't think
like
that would work because I don't think Styx would be willing to do that as a character.
yeah, that's true. Of course, we technically
Yeah,
don't
and the
know who
helmet shape,
modern Six could
closest I
be.
can think of maybe is Espio.
That would be very underwhelming.
Yeah.
I
It's like,
could.
oh, it's this character who we had featured like a couple issues ago.
It could be Mimic. Like it just could be Mimic, and it is
Eh.
plays into something bigger or something. I don't know.
Like, okay, and Mecha Sonic could also be at least mildly interesting because so far he's only existed in Scrapnik Island. Like, if they fix him up and like
But
introduce him as a
it's
potential member of the main
well,
cast,
obviously it's Neo Mecha Sonic, which Metal Sonic, which is how we get Eggman Nega into the storyline. Obviously,
or if Sega wants to be cool, Princess Sally, Sally the chipmunk.
or if Sega wants to be cool, Sarah from Sonic the OVA.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. I wouldn't say no to Sarah.
Or if Sega wants to be cool, Scratching Grounder in a single suit. Somehow.
So, before we move on, there's this thing that's at the back of my head I want to say real quick. The fifth game was Sonic Dash for the crossover, and you could collect red cards, and there was like also like these Angry Bird feather things that you could collect across the track. There, I got that out of my head. Okay, let's move on
Okay.
to what's important.
That's
That little thing, a tidbit that just like breaking. It's not really news, and I find it interesting. Walmart Canada Gaming's Twitter
oh
account
yeah,
just posted a
I
thing with
saw
Team
that.
Chaotix for some reason,
They've
Neat.
been.
just random out of the blue.
I'm trying to remember if this Sonic if this Canada Walmart Canada is the actual real Canadian Walmart account or something else, because I know there was a Canadian Walmart some sort of account that was just like a weird troll account for some period of time. Uh, I don't know if that's actually true because it does at least have a gold check, so might be legitimate, but I think they kind of lean into the weirdness, and they've been doing Sonic Heroes stuff whenever, you know, what we're about to talk about is going to was going on. So we're gonna start this right away by saying, to our knowledge, there is no Sonic Heroes remake in production.
Yes.
There is not. Yes, some people are reporting that this is happening. They are wrong. They did not
Well,
follow up, and they are working off of partial information, and in some cases, bad information
yeah, it
from
kind of
bad
is what it sounds
leakers.
like.
Hmm.
So like apparently the person who leaked to Nintendo Universado, or whatever that Spanish website is called, I don't know, is like that person does have some reliability, but like they're not someone that we ever report on or follow or know about. So as far as we're concerned, we don't care. Like
Or
so
it's
and
not in our sphere in the same way,
yeah,
so we can't vet
but-
it in the same, partially
yeah,
because of,
but
a language barrier.
But from the leaker who we do know, and has a really good track record, the only thing that we can confirm that's confirmed about this is that Sega is considering various Sonic remakes, and Sonic Heroes is one of the games under consideration, but there is no active development.
Right. And this is actually pretty reasonable because if you think about it, like, the reason why we have the remakes that we have, why we have the Generations, why we had the Sonic Colors remake, they had gaps that they needed to fill. And
Yeah.
they always need to, realistically, they always need to be thinking about these types of things. Like, what kinds of engines that they could be using, what kinds of games that they could reasonably be remaking, just because, like, we're in an era where games take longer and are more expensive, and you kind of have to fill things in between in order to, just have content.
And another thing that came out from Zippo specifically, whom we never report on because his stuff is only ever half right at best, is
It
that
seems like he runs with a lot of speculation, treating it
yeah,
as
is that Sega is completely abandoning its in-house engines in favor of Unreal Engine 5. But again, from what we've heard from Midori, is that Sega is expanding development into Unreal 5. They're looking into doing some remakes in Unreal 5, including a potential Sonic remake but they are still sticking to in-house engines like the Dragon engine for Yakuza and the Hedgehog engine for Sonic.
Right.
So
You wouldn't want to
yeah,
dramatically change that for your next big game unless you have, a little bit of experience with it. And it would
yeah.
make sense to do that on a smaller project to kind of gauge the viability of like, hey, is this something we could learn? Now, admittedly, there's given what we know about how Sonic Frontiers came out, there are probably some
Limitations.
advantages.
Oh, okay.
I found a word. The word was stuck in me, but I found it.
Advantages of moving
Advantages
to
that
Unified.
Unreal Engine 5 specifically would have over the Hedgehog engine, which, Unreal Engine 5 is being more built around, or at least more viable for open world experiences in the way that I don't think Hedgehog engine was especially great for. Like, I don't know if obviously it's kind of been debunked that you need to that the draw distance is innately Hedgehog engine, but it's safe to say that at least part of it has to be related to performance and what you can and can't
I'm
render at a
sure it must in
distance.
performance.
Yeah, but yeah, it seems very viable for them to be considering a lot of these things, but at the same time, like, you have to imagine that they're considering a lot of games. Like, I don't I don't like Sonic Unleashed, but they would be crazy to at least not, think about it.
I don't know. I personally wouldn't see why they wouldn't just keep that and just bring that in over to Hedgehog Engine 2 or something if they're going to remaster it.
Sure, well, I mean, because you would use it as an experience to kind of figure out what you can do. Now, obviously, like, hey, games of that era used certain middleware. I think
Right.
especially Havoc
Sonic
physics.
Heroes.
And
Son-
probably some middleware that doesn't exist anymore, so they'd have to,
Sonic Heroes, as
Precisely
go
we
to
that.
and
understand it,
remake. Yeah.
that can get a re-release because it uses renderware, which has which is held by EA,
Yes.
and
And they have basically discontinued it.
yeah. So,
So,
like, they would also probably need to pay EA something in order to do anything with the original Sonic Heroes.
and probably have to figure out how to adapt it to modern technology, unless you were just doing a straight up, hey, we're making this GameCube ISO work with it.
Like, I do personally think that a Sonic Heroes remake in Unreal 5 would make a lot of sense. What I would personally love to see is a Spyro Reignited Trilogy style remake of Sonic Adventure 1, 2, and Heroes, where they just take the geometry, bring it into a new engine, and then like build new assets over it. Which seems to be what Nintendo loves to do.
So yeah, I guess we could talk about, like, yeah, let's at least talk about, like, the logistics of what this would have to be, because my feeling on the matter is that if you were to remake these games, the last to me, again,
Yeah.
as someone who doesn't love Unleashed, I also feel like Unleashed is the earliest game that you could reasonably remaster without making significant changes to, like,
Right.
Now, of course,
fundamental fundamental design. Like, the Heroes, I have affection for Heroes out of nostalgia, but that game is just badly balanced. It's completely janky. It it
well,
has great
see, that is why it would benefit from being remade in a new engine.
but also you'd have to fix things like how it works with the combat. Like, last time I played, if you just punch with Knuckles, Knuckles will punch himself off the edge of a ledge. Like, it has no problem doing that. It has no problem with driving the camera into a weird place. It has no problem with, like, making you fight these giant enemies with the hammers that have to go through a lengthy attack animation and lock you off from progression until you beat them, and some of them also have this armor, meaning you
Well,
have to
see,
hit
you
their
also
heads.
adjust those enemies. But like for me, if they were to for me, what my dream Sonic project at this point is basically just take these games, rebuild them in a new engine, but keep the old level
Mhm.
design and like remove all the jankiness that was inherent with the game's technology and how they were rushed and all that stuff.
I don't think
Like
I think
just
what you
make.
get is a really mediocre platformer by today's standards.
I mean, I'm okay with that
But
because I still love these games. That's
can
kind of
they
the point of
sell
bringing them
it?
over.
But can they
I
sell
mean, I don't
it?
know. They sold Crash Bandicoot. I don't think the games in that are particularly amazing by today's standards. But like, they're still like fun
There
platformers
but
for their
there's
era.
but there was novelty in re-releasing Crash Bandicoot at the time because Crash Bandicoot was gone for as long as he was. There's no novelty in them
Yeah.
re-releasing a Sonic game. They re-release Sonic
Novelty.
games on days ending in Y.
The novelty is that these are the Adventures and Heroes games that have been re-released in
Well,
years to 2 decades
I
in
mean
Heroes' case.
I mean, let's be real here. We're not even if they're considering Heroes, then Adventures and Adventures 2 aren't even on the table. Like,
Yeah,
maybe at one point there
probably.
was a
I'm
time
just
to
telling you what I
consider it,
personally want.
but
Like,
yeah,
ultimately, I guess wish they just port the damn games already or emulate them or something.
well,
Just bring them over.
bring them over. Like you can, yeah, I would say if you want to preserve what
Well,
those
like you
games
said, the
are,
problem is the engines,
sure, yeah, but
that they can't really use
okay.
anymore.
If we at least talk about Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, I don't think you get I don't think you get away with being dedicated to what those games are without, you know, just making them act like they did. I would be happy if they just made good ports of those. Like, we are getting ports
Yeah.
upon ports upon ports, and they're getting progressively more janky than they already were, and they started pretty janky.
My other Sonic Dream project, Sonic 3D Jam Collection, with
Christ.
emulated GameCube and Dreamcast versions in addition to ports.
How many more characters can you play as?
I mean, as many characters as were in Heroes. I don't want them to add anything else.
Christ almighty. So, yeah,
now, now
we
we're talking about about like the remakes and ooh, so many characters.
so yeah, Knuckles is gonna be Knuckles. He's gonna want things that he is never going to get and is desperately unrealistic. I just want ports that aren't fundamentally broken. Is that too much to ask for?
I hope not. I hope not.
I want
Like,
a port of colors
technically,
that
Sonic Adventure DX is just broken at this point. They would have to fix it with the next port.
I want
Like,
I want a port of colors that won't threaten epilepsy. Uh
I mean, technically, we do have that now. They patched it out.
yeah, I know. But I can't believe that still launched with that. That's nightmarish.
Yeah.
And in a very, very reproducible way, the kind of way that your testers would catch if you were testing it properly.
Which I guess they weren't.
Uh, mm, there is a phrase in the game industry called known shippable, my man. Testers
Mm,
catch a lot of things. That doesn't mean everything gets solved.
yeah.
Uh,
Regardless, though, like I just want Sega to get more old Sonic games on modern hardware, including the bad ones.
yeah, yeah, as a game preservationist, I agree that they should largely be available. I think we're just at the point where you can't like faithfully reproduce heroes, but also then if you're going to do it over, then you kind of have to fix it. Like I don't see how you don't fix it is the problem.
I assume by fix it, you mean like completely alter level design and stuff.
Even if you don't completely alter level design, you at least have to like fix the physics because the physics in that game are like you go into any pinball level and you can see the physics are basically broken. Everything is borderline uncontrollable in it. The special stages are you will just get stuck in the special stages for no reason as the emerald just runs away from you and you run in place because you
For
stood
me,
in the
that
wrong
is the one
spot.
thing I really want them to fix because I love the rest of the game. But
Yeah, that's a
fix
horrible
fix the
bonus
special
stage.
stages.
But to fix
Okay, I
it,
also hate the final boss.
but to fix it, you all, yeah. So, I, I don't know. I don't, I don't, I don't think that you can release Heroes without it being dead. Like, you either port it directly with, foibles and all, old graphics, whatever you got, maybe just upres it, or you actually take it back to the drawing board and try to meaningfully modernize it in the modern Sonic structure in some way.
That
I'll take emulation,
because
I'll take port, I'll take that. I just bring them
I
over.
I'd rather it was done like GX was saying, because it's still a very, even though a lot of people enjoy that game, it's still a very flawed game in a lot of ways. It needs some update, serious updating on that
But
game.
most importantly, we're not getting any of them. We don't know that anything's in actual development. In fact, we are understanding that they are not currently in development.
We're just saying a what if,
Yes.
hypothetically.
I am not saying that for you. I am saying it for the audience.
And I'm realizing that I forgot to include one thing in the notes, and it was a major thing. It was the union news.
Yes. So just to wrap it up, hey, the Sega of America Union got their contract ratified, and that means that they have
employees.
That means that they have better protections from layoffs. It means that they have improved wages, and it means that they have more opportunities for advancement. If I understand the benefits that they were able to acquire through that,
and it's now like the biggest gaming union to have its contract ratified in the industry, and it's going to be a big improvement for the entire industry. So this is very cool.
Here's hoping. I know, unfortunately, Nintendo just went through. Nintendo of America specifically just went through a rather large dismissal of contractors, and they sort of said like, "Hey, yeah, we're laying off 120 contractors, but also we are making more full-time positions as a result." Which
that's nice because
it's nice, but it also really sucks.
Like the part-time contractors is like one of the big exploitable things that all these companies are doing. That's why the Sega of America unionized to begin with, because they had so many contract employees, and a bunch of them got laid off by Sega too. Like, although it was fewer because the union was at least able to negotiate stuff, like severance.
Hey, that's a power that unions have, the power to negotiate. They cannot get everything that they want.
Nintendo of America needs that.
Yeah, I would say so. But I would say that about any industry in any studio and anything right now. Hey, you know what? This is not a politics podcast, and I will put it at that then. Power to the workers. So hey, that about wraps up the episode. We are once again hitting roughly the 3 hour. We are under 3 hours at this point, which is which is solid for us for a month's worth of news. We either have to do these more often or talk less.
I almost wouldn't mind doing like two a month at this point.
Well, as far as talking less, I'm doing my part there.
Yeah,
that's something
I should have probably encouraged you a bit more to say things, but
hey, we as always are part of Sonic Stadium. You can check out all of that stuff over at sonicstadium.org, as well as all of the news that we discussed across this episode. Go ahead.
And keep an eye out. I'm going to be uploading footage from Sonic Dream Blast and Angry Birds Dream Blast and Angry Birds 2 onto the YouTube.
Angry Birds Dream Team.
Whatever,
Angry Birds
you know
Dash.
what I mean.
Angry Birds Forces Speed Battle.
And I'm gonna at least try to write up like an article just summarizing everything. So maybe keep an eye out for that too.
Rumor comes in. They are apparently making Angry Birds Heroes, and that will be in Unreal Engine 5.
Oh no, that's the big addition to Sonic Heroes is there's
You've
an
got a
Angry
new
Birds
you've got a new
team.
team in the Sonic Heroes. It's the Angry Birds.
It's Red, Chuck, and Bomb, who is the muscle.
Right. I thought the big red bird was the muscle.
No. Well, okay. Technically, yeah, he is the muscle, but he looks too close to Red, so we need to use Bomb, who's kind of like the backup muscle.
Right. So, hey, also keep an eye on this streaming space because coming up very soon, let me put it this way. It's either going to be Friday, and if I can't be ready for Friday, then it's going to be Saturday. But this week, barring any emergencies, is going to be a return of Sega Sonic Radio.
Yes. So
I
either on Good Friday or the day after Good Friday.
One of those 2 days. It will ultimately move back to Fridays, but my goal is to still get this in by the end of the month because I said I would. And come hell or high water, I am getting it in by the end of the month.
I have been waiting for this for over a year. This was supposed to be like a 1-month break, man.
It was, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So with that, hey, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
yeah, see ya.